So I have a proposal for you, if you don't mind.
There's, that should tell you all need to know about the diverse nature of the present.
No, I was trying to look at our previous episode. You're muted. You're muted. Oops. Sorry.
I was like, that sounded like me. I'm like, what the hell? What's going on?
It's like Garfield, he's talking without moving his mouth,
Yeah.
Sir, I have a proposal for you. Since we're both tired, let's try to do right now it's almost 10. Let's try to go until midnight, and then after midnight we'll just see where we're at, and if we want to keep going, we'll keep going.
Bullshit. We go all the way.
Alrighty then.
That's right, man.
Boonch, boonch, boonch.
I'm all in.
Do you know what I found out today? The craziest thing. Remember in Terminator 2? Yes. I'll bring it in a second. Terminator 2. Oh wow. Very nice. Very nice. Terminator 2. Remember when it says, the Linda Hamilton, she's like narrating the whole situation with Skynet and how the history of Skynet. And she goes, August 4th, something like the bill is signed into law, giving pretty much, I'm just paraphrasing, giving pretty much like all decision-making power to in terms of like military decisions to machines. 25 days later, August 29th, 1997, Skynet is fully, autonomous, fully operational. So August 4th, 1997 was what date on the Hebrew calendar?
It's probably somewhere within the 9 days based on what I saw you post in the chat earlier today.
Rosh Chodesh. Okay, so for the folks at home, Rosh Chodesh Av.
Yes.
And 25 days later, it was, the 26th of Av. The Parsha of the week that week would have been, let's say in that parallel world, Parshat Re'eh, which talks about I'll just let me go to Chabad.org. I just want to make sure I get the correct because Gemini told me one thing, but I feel like I saw it in a different parsha, in a different portion of the Torah. It says, yeah, see. Moses says, see, like look, re'eh. It says to the people of Israel, I place before you today a blessing and a curse. A blessing that will come when they fulfill God's commandments, and the curse if they abandon them. And proclaim on Mount Gerizim and Mount Eval, which is like a real place. You can go there and visit there.
Yeah.
A temple should be established, the God will choose to make a dwelling. Okay, so uh it's incredible. It talks about false prophets. You shouldn't you know, false prophets who entice others to worship idols should be put to death. An idolatrous city must be destroyed. And then kosher animals and fish. Uh it talks about the tenth of all produce has to be in Jerusalem. But the main thing is the blessing and the curse. So like it's incredible. So I don't know if the guys who wrote this movie, I mean, it was James Cameron and some other guy, not neither of them Jewish. I mean, obviously Jews are involved in the movie some way, somehow, but like, I don't know, man. Rosh Chodesh Av, the beginning of the most calamitous time for, I mean, really for the world, not just Jewish people.
Do you know
And
why I'm not sitting here completely like, whoa,
blown away. Yeah.
like like Jesse Michaels doing his
Yeah.
best Keanu Reeves impression?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You know why?
No.
Because I despise James Cameron.
Oh, I
James
also
Cameron.
do, but it's not about James Cameron. I'm just sorry. I'm wondering if well, let's see who else was involved in this movie. Yeah, this guy William Wisher. He actually passed away a week ago. The other writer, and he wrote the first Terminator and the second Terminator. And let's see. I'm just curious if any Jews were involved. Well,
So what are we worried about? The Terminator scenario of
I would say not even more so that AI is a thing that if again the like you always like to say, the Citrocker gets it first. It's funny, like I was speaking to a mutual friend of actually mine and Eric's, Jacob, when we had all these questions about, halakha, Jewish law, and I always joke, I'm like, let's ask Rabbi Gemini, you know? So I would punch it in and it would give me the answer, whatever it is, from like legit sources, it could be Chabad, could be this, could be that, Orthodox answers. And so it's one thing if you're using that for something, Torah related, holy, I really think the internet in general, the only thing that's, with the possible exception of, let's say, if you're researching like history or something for school, like a kid's researching, like math, history, etc., science, generally speaking, the only really good thing internet is good for is Torah. You know,
yeah,
everything else is absolute garbage. So now,
beyond
so
garbage,
yeah,
the depths of evil.
yeah, that's the people. So the lesson is it's either a blessing or a curse, right? And don't give the thing autonomy. Don't codify it into law, that's for sure. Anything you codify into law, like I remember, I don't know if
Gay
you remember,
marriage.
well, I was going to say a few years ago they did it in New York, 2011, and it was crazy. Like the East Coast had a 5.9 earthquake, and then Rabbi Wallerstein of blessed memory, I think it was another rabbi, said, that some big Kabbalist told him that up in Shemaim, up in heaven, they reversed it from it was supposed to be 9.5, reversed it to 5.9 because you don't the Talmud. It's in the speaking of Talmud, a lot of anti-Semites like talk about Talmud.
Mm.
It should make some of them, the ones who are right wing, it should make some of them happy that the Talmud talks about the places where this is codified into law. Literally, like if you have like some stuff, some kind of natural disasters, don't be surprised. I'm just again paraphrasing here.
Greg,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. But you said Talmud,
Yeah.
and I posted something today.
Okay. Yeah,
I wrote,
the guy that wrote this amazing thing. Yes.
yeah, the best post I've ever seen on Twitter
I
saying,
posted it on my Instagram and some idiots already, as we
of
say in
course, I
Russian,
mean, it's,
прибежали.
yeah, anything that's like
They
good.
ran too.
Can I read it?
Yeah, yeah,
Can I?
please, please. I mean, it's incredible.
I don't know who the guy is, but he definitely hit it out of the
He,
park with this one.
I'll tell you who he is if anybody's interested. His name is Matthew Feinberg. He, I guess he calls himself the mayor of Jewish Twitter. He's a tech geek and he lives in Florida and he wrote a book, I guess, which is available on Amazon on Kindle
Yeah,
called Screaming into the Void, the Mayor of J Twitter. No resignation accepted.
I'd be willing. I'm not very open to
Yeah,
reading, but I'd be
yeah,
willing. Based on this post, I might consider
yeah,
it.
yeah,
He put this is the image that he posted.
yeah,
I don't know how well you guys can see that. Is
yeah,
that
yeah.
clear?
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's very clear.
Okay. So here we go. Here's what he wrote. The expert Talmud scholars of Screenshot University. There are few spectacles more majestic than watching someone who has never opened a page of Talmud explain the Talmud to Jews. It is one of the great wonders of the modern world, right up there with airport sushi, self-checkout machines that accuse you of theft, and people on TikTok diagnosing empires between skincare routines. Every few days, some freshly moisturized anti-Semite emerges from the digital swamp holding a screenshot like it's the Dead Sea Scrolls. By freshly moisturized, does he mean like an internet masturbator? Is that what he? I think that's who he's referring.
Something like that,
I
I
get the
guess.
feeling that's what he's trying to say here. You
Yeah,
know, the
yeah,
groypers, you know, these
yeah,
incels on,
yeah.
on the in their parents' basement. Okay,
Yes, yes.
in the basement. It has to be the basement.
Hmm.
All right. Uh, every few days, some freshly moisturized anti-Semite emerges from the digital swamp holding a screenshot like it's the Dead Sea Scrolls. Quote, have you read what the Talmud says?
Yeah.
No. White supremacy t-shirt guy? Have you? Not a quote card, not a telegram meme dressed up as not a telegram meme dressed up as research, not a PDF from a marble statue avatar named Blood and Soil 1488. The actual Talmud. The thing with Hebrew, Aramaic, legal reasoning, argument, counter argument, majority opinions, minority opinions, hypotheticals, ethics, and rabbis debating whether an oven can be spiritually compromised. Yes, an oven. Welcome to Judaism. Even our cookware has jurisprudence. The Talmud is not a pamphlet. It's not a manifesto. It is not Jewish Mein Kampf. That was in quotes. Which is the kind of sentence produced when ignorance and malice have a baby and raise it on conspiracy podcasts. It is thousands of pages of Jewish legal, moral, intellectual wrestling. Daf Yomi takes about 7.5 years just to finish one pass. One pass! Not master it, not decode it, not earn a black belt in secret Jewish weather control. Just get through the pages. And yet Kevin from Reddit reads 4 mistranslated lines from a neo-Nazi image board during lunch and now considers himself a dayan. That's a judge in a Jewish court.
Yeah.
Mazel tov. May his next scholarly achievement be reading the instructions on a shampoo bottle without blaming the Jews for conditioner. Yeah, I wrote that right. I read that right. The modern anti-Semite has learned that frothing Jew hate sounds bad in public, so he rebrands himself as a researcher. He does not say, I hate Jews. Too crude, too retro. Instead, he says, I'm just asking questions about the Talmud. Ah, yes, just asking questions. The mating call of the intellectually dishonest. This is not scholarship, this is textual mugging. They jump the Talmud in an alley, steal a sentence, remove its context, beat the grammar unconscious, drag it into social media, and point at the corpse. See? No, we do not see. We smell. And what we smell is the same old anti-Semitic sewage, only now it has Wi-Fi. The method is ancient. Take a Jewish text, remove context, lie about meaning, present Jews as demonic, pretend the lie is brave truth, wait for violence. Blood libel, host desecration, the protocols of the elders of Zion, Nazi race science. Same machinery, new font, excuse me. Yesterday, the Jew poisoned wells. Today, the Jew controls banks, media, wars, weather, Hollywood, Congress, and apparently everyone's Wi Fi except mine, which still dies in the bathroom where I need it the most. Mine, too, by the way. It doesn't work in my bedroom. Sucks.
Hmm.
Try to watch something on Amazon Prime. Anyway, funny, absurd, never harmless. These myths are permission slips. The Talmud smear exists because anti Semites need Jews guilty before the trial begins. They start with the verdict, then shop for evidence. A fake quote, a bad translation, a rejected hypothetical treaty on doctrine, treated as doctrine, excuse me. A passage about ancient idolaters pretending to be about your neighbor Larry who brings kugel to shul. This is not confusion. It is a method. The Talmud is useful to Jew haters because it is large, complex, ancient, multilingual, and unfamiliar to most non Jews. Perfect hunting ground for liars. If a text is dense enough, you can make it say anything to people who will never check. But the Talmud is not read like a fortune cookie. It is studied in dialogue. Chavruta, that means study partner.
Yeah.
Argument, pushback, layers. The page itself is a conversation across centuries. Mishnah, Gemara, Rashi, Tosafot, disagreement, more disagreement, and then, because we are Jews, disagreement about whether the disagreement was sufficiently disagreeable.
Hmm.
Not exactly, but
No.
he's doing some shtick here.
Yeah.
That is what the anti-Semite cannot tolerate. The Talmud does not show Jews as cartoon villains. It shows Jews doing what serious people do when morality matters, arguing over obligations. What do we owe the poor? How do we compensate harm? What is justice when facts are messy? How do you build a life after empire takes your land, your temple, and your safety? That's the real Talmud, not a manual for domination, a manual for survival conscience. Rome destroyed Jewish sovereignty, the temple was gone, Jews were scattered, taxed, and hunted. And what did we do? We argued, we remembered, we legislated, we taught our children, we built a portable civilization out of words. That's the most important thing that he wrote there. Those words right there, that's so on the nose. We built a portable civilization out of words.
Yeah. It's incredible.
On the one hand, it got us here. On the other hand, we suffer from it.
Yeah.
But it's what got us here. The anti-Semite sees that our portable civilization built on words, right?
Hmm.
The anti-Semite sees that and calls it conspiracy.
Yeah.
Because to the anti-Semite, Jewish continuity itself is suspicious. If Jews assimilate, we're infiltrators. If Jews preserve identity, we're tribal. If Jews are weak, we're parasites. If Jews are strong, we're oppressors. If Jews succeed, we control everything. If Jews die, it's unfortunate. If Jews fight back, it's genocide.
Yeah.
There's no acceptable Jewish existence except the silent, grateful, endangered kind. Preferably museum quality, preferably dead, preferably useful as a moral lesson for everyone except living Jews. There's nothing brave about repeating the oldest hatred in the world with a Canva template. Blaming Jews is not edgy, it is lazy. It is the intellectual equivalent of microwaving fish in the office kitchen. Everyone notices, nobody respects you, and you make the room worse. So expert Talmud scholars of Screenshot University. Here is the syllabus. Week 1, learn Hebrew. Week 2, learn Aramaic. Week 3, learn what a sugya is. Week 4, learn the difference between a debate, a ruling, a rejected opinion, and a Gothic passage and a fever dream you found online. Week 5, apologize to the nearest Jew. Week 6 onward, 7.5 years of actual study. Bring coffee, bring humility, bring snacks, and stop saying the Talmud says when what you mean is a meme told me. Here's the moral. You did not expose the Jews, you exposed yourself. You did not uncover Jewish evil, you uncovered your own illiteracy. You did not decode the Talmud, you failed the entrance exam. The Talmud would have welcomed your questions. Judaism loves questions, good ones, hard ones, annoying ones, but a question asked in bad faith is not a question. It is an accusation wearing a fake mustache. So keep your screenshots. We have libraries. Keep your tropes. We have memory. Keep your hate. We have outlived better enemies than you. And if you ever decide to stop pimping anti-Semitic garbage and start studying honestly, the door is open. Uh, just know this, the first lesson will not be about Jews controlling the world. It will be about humility. You may find it challenging. So that's very well written. I'm jealous of it. I wish I had been able
Yeah. Yeah.
to kind of put those words together. I guess I might have been able to. I feel too angry to in that sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't write words like the door is open.
Yeah.
I'd write the words, go kill yourself.
Yeah.
Maggot, die. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
after everything, I don't want you around. I don't want Nick
Yeah.
Fuentes to do tshuva and become,
Yeah.
Nate's minion guy. If you're not having Nate's cat, you're not that, I don't care about what happens to him.
What would you do if he did? That'd be funny.
I'd stay out of the way. You see, that's why
No,
we
I
need.
wouldn't be involved. I'm just saying,
No, no, I would
what would be
just.
your reaction? I mean,
My
like,
reaction is to stay out of the way
okay,
because God, you know, does stuff like that,
yeah,
and it infuriates me. But God's the boss. He's gonna do it, and I'd rather, it's best just to stay out of his way.
yeah,
The best thing I could tell you folks, right, when dealing with people you hate is to avoid them like the plague.
yeah,
Avoid the confrontation. Avoid if it's not necessary.
yeah,
Just don't say anything. Just don't be where they are. Don't say anything about them to anyone, not even yourself. Spare yourself the aggravation. Stay away from them. Don't challenge yourself with
yeah,
crap like that. Life is hard enough. Don't make King David's mistake of seeking challenges, right? I'm not saying anything controversial here. King David was so committed to serving God that he wanted more, he wanted to be tested by God. And that was not a good thing that he did. And we're taught not to seek extra challenges.
yeah, yeah. You know,
Dealing with people like Fuentes and people of that nature, that's
yeah.
in a positive way is out of my it's not
It's above your pay grade, so to speak.
it's above my pay grade. It's not something that like that like you have like those guys who are dealing with Lucas Gage,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
guy. I'm just staying out of it. I don't want to be critical of the people who are open to talk. To some extent I respect them. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like because like we spoke about last time, like the Yossi Faros, people like that. Like
yeah.
I wouldn't be able to talk to Mark Zuckerberg
Mm.
in any positive way. I wouldn't be able um to do that. Like like who's Yossi Farrow gonna get next?
Yeah,
Bernie Sanders? Like, can
yeah,
you imagine?
yeah,
Like, I don't think I could be in the same state as Bernie Sanders without like resorting to, you know, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Of course.
so I know
Listen,
what my limits are.
can I tell you something regarding what this guy wrote about that we got, our temple was destroyed and then we got exiled. But, the first thing the rabbis did when that happened, after the second temple was destroyed, they asked the emperor, something like, can you please let us go to a place called
Yeah.
Yavne and just rebuild our house of study so that we can literally have like a little nook, like a little place, because they knew that like the majority of the Jewish nation would be scattered, but they also knew that they needed to hold, so to speak, the fort in the land of Israel. And luckily, they were allowed to do that. They went to the Yavne is basically on the way to Ashkelon. If you ever driven down to Ashkelon, it's actually there's a yeshiva there called Keren V'Yavne, kind of like modeled after that thing. Um, yeah, and that's the first thing they thought to do. Some of them stayed in Israel and they were like, we need to build this thing. And eventually everything became, all the Torah was, so to speak, not exported, but like you said, we became like a portable, quote unquote. That's why everybody thinks Judaism is a religion.
That's where it happened.
Yeah, that's what happened. But like, that's literally why, folks. That's why you have been sold really the whole narrative that Judaism is a religion. It's not a religion, it's a civilization. It's a civilization that was forced to be portable, and some of the things outside the land of Israel are not applicable. Again, I'm in the wine industry, things like letting the land lie fallow, Shemitah, right? For on the seventh year. You don't do that outside the land of Israel. All these things with mostly agriculture, um, are just not done outside the land of Israel. And that's the miracle that, again, I hate to sound like, I mean, I've said this before, some guy who's, works for whatever, JNF, Jewish Agency, Nefesh B'Nefesh, Aliyah this, Aliyah that, but um, that's the miracle of what Israel is today. Forget about the state of Israel, the government, and all these fruitcakes. But the fact that Jews are back, vineyards, farms, etc., etc., and we're able to do mitzvot that we haven't been able to do in 1900 years. This is insane. It's absolutely insane. A Cohen, can do all the things that some of the things, not all the things, but some of the things that a Cohen is allowed to do with agriculture. Or if I have a Cohen, like I'm sitting in an apartment in Jerusalem and my roommate was a Cohen, I can give him like cut a piece of fruit and give him a piece of fruit that's, truma for the Cohen. It's a whole thing. It's a whole mitzvah. I literally did the mitzvah that like I've never done. It's incredible.
It's incredible. I was just thinking as what you were saying, right? You have these books that have become more popular in recent years. They're mostly advertised on social media and like YouTube, where it's like learn how to rebuild civilization, right? Like here's how to,
Yeah.
if you come across some like rusted machinery,
Yeah,
here's how
yeah.
to get it started again.
DIY. Yeah.
DIY stuff like, like
Yeah.
if the Terminators destroy the world and then they
Yeah.
turn on each other and then
Yeah.
a couple of survivors are left in the world, how do you restart civilization, right? So it teaches you basic like electronics, mechanics, plumbing, farming, you know, agriculture, industrial, how to get industrial stuff back going, right? Like civilized world. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
That's what the Jews did that successfully with our just with with our spirituality
Yeah.
and with our like political structures
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
government. We preserved everything in data,
Yeah.
like on a hard drive,
Yeah.
which is contained in basically in a few books.
Frank, there's entire one of the hardest tractates portions of the Talmud is something called there's a few that are really, really hard. having to do with any kind of measurements or math. One is the eruvin, the wire. Well, they're really wires that are hung around locales or cities, which allow people to kind of like it's like a border that allow people to carry on Shabbat. It's
It's
very,
a city wall.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a
It's an
it's a
imaginary
technical
wall.
minimum.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a technical minimum of
yeah,
what's considered
yeah,
a walled city.
yeah, yeah. So the term in Hebrew is Rishut Harabim, right? What's considered Rishut Harabim? What's considered what's called a thoroughfare where 600,000 people pass through, right? So for example, Crown Heights, right? You go to Crown Heights, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Chabad holds that there on Shabbat there is no Eruv. You cannot carry outside your house on Shabbat. Why? Because Eastern Parkway is a ginormous thoroughfare with cars and people. There's 600,000 people supposedly crossing. Both Lubavitcher Rebbe and Rabbi Moshe Feinstein agreed on that. So you cannot carry. There's some people, a few people here and there I've seen. They carry. They have like baby carriages that they carry on Shabbat. Technically, somebody made an eruv like, and it's a kosher eruv. It's real. But Chabad doesn't hold by it, right? There's modern Orthodox people live there. Some Chabadniks, young people who are kind of like on their own thing. It's fine. The point
They
is,
hold by it. Can I just quickly,
yeah,
very
yeah,
quickly, very
yeah,
quickly?
yeah,
They hold by it in the sense where they're not going to deliberately carry something in their pockets,
yeah,
but
yeah,
if they carried something in their pocket, let's say not deliberately, like they
yeah,
just found something,
yeah.
then they would not have, at least they would not have like
Broken,
transgressed
broken anything. Yeah,
the prohibition. So it's
yeah,
kind of like a safety net.
yeah,
People just consider it a real, and they
yeah,
they go ahead and. But the point is that that's up to you.
yeah.
It's
So,
in the
so,
framework of halacha.
yeah, so the Talmud has this tractate, Eruvin, right? It's really difficult. There's another tractate called what's the other one I was thinking of? Something to do with
It's
uh
not difficult for Candace Owens.
oh
She's a
yeah, she's
master.
a master. She's a master. There's there's another one called it's not a tractate, it's a topic. Ribis, not to be confused with frogs. Interest. Very intricate laws about interest, right?
Yeah.
You're technically not allowed to charge interest, but comes the Talmud and says there's something called heter iska, right? This is an example. It's like something that's allowed, an allowance or a yeah, like something that's allowed in this certain situation. For example, banks in Israel today, right? These are run by largely secular people. Bank Hapoalim, Bank Leumi, Bank this, Bank that. They charge, the people of Israel interest. Because there's a bank, you have to make money. There's other ways a bank can make money. They charge interest. How do they do that? They go to the rabbis, and the rabbis tell them, heteriska, right? And there's all these intricate laws
Yeah,
about
but
that.
heteriska is not. It can't be. I mean,
What do you mean?
we have to talk about what really is heteriska
Yeah,
for this part of the discussion to be
yeah,
coherent. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah, yeah. Here, I can just ask a basic question of so-called Rabbi Gemini. Uh, how do banks in Israel charge interest if Jews are not allowed to charge Jews interest? I'm curious as to the answer here.
I mean, like if before you get the answer, let's
Yeah,
speculate a little
yeah,
bit. Um, the idea of charging Jews interest, I I assume personally, and everybody
yeah,
listening to this, take this with a
yeah,
grain of salt because
yeah,
I have no idea about this part of Jewish law at all.
yeah,
That it was talking about in general, like a personal loans
yeah.
from private individuals to private
Individual.
individuals.
Yeah, but let's
Like
see.
your
Yeah,
friend comes to you, your cousin comes
yeah.
to you. You're not allowed to
You
charge
can't
interest.
charge. Yeah,
You loan your buddy money.
yeah.
Don't charge interest. Just give him a
No,
loan. You know what I mean?
no,
Like,
no. But let's see that it actually talks about. He says, but it's also banks too. Here, like it says, Jewish religious law strictly forbids charging or paying interest on loans between Jews. By the way, Muslims have something called Islamic banking. That's literally the same thing. However, modern banks in Israel operate in a secular capitalist economy where interest is essential for lending, mortgages, and credit. Okay. To reconcile ancient religious law with modern banking, Israeli banks, along with observant individuals and businesses worldwide, use a centuries-old legal mechanism known as a heter iska, which really basically means permit for a joint venture or permission for business transaction. So he says it's formalized by rabbinic scholars during the Middle Ages. It legally converts a loan into a joint business investment. So it's almost like you're doing a business investment with the bank, as opposed to you taking out a loan. So he says, reframing the loan as an investment, instead of the bank lending you money, the bank becomes a silent investor in your financial activities. That's technically what it is, because that
Becomes a
is,
partner in your business plan.
well, if like this house, for example, oh, well, this house is paid off. But let's say this house had a mortgage. Technically, that's true because if you stop paying the mortgage, what happens? The bank repossesses, like the bank owns your whatever it is until you pay it off. So he says, becomes a silent investor in your financial activities, such as buying a home, running a business, or managing personal assets. Profit sharing, money provided by the bank is treated as capital meant to generate profit. In theory, the bank is entitled to a portion of the profits you generate using that capital, but they don't actually,
Yeah, but there's some, see, in order to make this, it's not a loan, right?
yeah,
Because look, okay, folks, let's just boil it down.
yeah,
If what we're not allowed to do is that Greg comes to me and says, according to the Torah, um, I want a loan, right? I
yeah.
can give him a loan, but I can't say, okay, fine, I'll loan you this money, but you gotta
Pay me
pay me
back with interest.
interest on
Yeah,
what we're not allowed to do that. Okay.
yeah,
But if Greg comes to me and says, I want a loan because I want to, whatever, open a fruit store, right?
yeah,
So I I'll say that I can say to him, okay, I'm not going to give you a loan, but you know what? I'll invest in the business with you and I'll become a partner, right? And we'll decide how we split the profits, right? But also, in order for this to be like literally like legally and not bullshit, I have to assume some of the risk of the investment,
yeah,
right? Like in the situation where, somebody loans money to somebody at a percentage, right? The guy doesn't assume any risk. Like the lender doesn't assume any risk.
yeah,
Okay. Obviously bearing,
yeah,
like taking for granted that the loan is going to be repaid. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
But other than that, the lender doesn't assume any risk. But as an investor,
yeah,
fine, I'm owed some of the profits, but I also carry some of the risk
yeah, of
of
course.
the investment.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the difference between lending and becoming
yeah,
an investment partner.
yeah,
So that's the kind of loans
yeah,
that that banks that follow religious Jewish law give. They're not really loans, they're
yeah,
investment partnerships.
yeah,
Okay? It's real. It's not just some kind of like loophole.
yeah.
Okay? So it says the risk to make the structure valid, right? In Jewish law,
Hmm.
the investor must assume a portion of the risk
Yeah,
if the venture loses money,
yeah,
while the manager is exempt from liability if they follow specific reporting requirements, such as
yeah,
swearing in a Jewish court of law. Okay, folks, it's not a loophole. This is like people who care about spiritual law.
yeah.
I'm hearing a little bit of an echo. I think it's you took off
That's
your
me. Sorry
right?
about that.
It's okay. Otherwise, no one's going to go through this headache.
Yeah,
Okay.
nope. Yeah. I want to read, there's another thing it mentions. He says, while the heter iska is a universal standard in Israel, rabbinical legal scholars also rely on additional nuances to justify modern banking operations. He says, corporations versus individuals. Many prominent rabbinic authorities argue that the Torah's prohibitions against interest applies only between individual human beings, like you said, not in impersonal corporate bodies or state-chartered entities. Because a bank is a corporation, or it's called sheat mechira, or a non-person. Some hold that corporate interest does not violate biblical law. Non-Jewish ownership stockholders, if a bank or financial institution is owned even partially by non-Jewish shareholders, You could have like Citibank that's has a branch in Israel.
Yeah.
The prohibition on charging interest between Jews does not apply that on that portion of the equity. See, now it says it gives you a chart. How it applies in everyday life? A mortgage, right? So traditional model, bank lends money, charges interest on repayment. Heteriska, bank co-invests in the property. The interest is the user buying out the bank's profit share. Savings account. You lend money to the bank pays you interest. You invest in the bank, heteriska model. You invest in the bank pays you a fixed profit share buyout. Credit card slash overdraft. Penalty, interest on late or extended balances. The traditional model. Heteriska model, pre-agreed investment fee structures into the bank's terms. So I've had that on my what is it called? On my whatever, when I had a bank account in Israel. So it's interesting. Like I always wonder, how a lot of people, by the way, there's Bezalel Smotrich, a politician, Israeli politician. He said actually we should. He proposed to get rid of a lot of economic kind of ideas from the Torah. He wants to get rid of this heteriska stuff. And he says, listen, if you want banks to make money, if you're worried about banks making money, there's other ways they can make money. They can just charge fees. Start charging fees for that, for this, that, and the other, as opposed to crazy interest, right? Because a lot of people in Israel, the whole system is people live in, it's called minus, they live in overdraft. As opposed to having
Yeah.
credit card debt, they just live in overdraft on the bank account. And on that overdraft, they're charged this thing, and they just never get out of this,
Yeah.
literally like people with credit cards, they never get out of debt because of stupid interest rates.
Question. When you say he wants to get rid of the Heter Iska, what is
He wants to get rid of the whole thing of banks charging interest. He wants to
just
instead
even with the exemption of Iska, he just wants
he
literally.
wants us to stop doing this. Yeah, this. I mean, what he says is shtick. Another thing he wants is, well, Moshe Feiglin really wants this, the other politician, kind of, so to speak, Americanize the tax system in Israel, meaning either have like a flat tax or just like stop charging people for tax for, breathing and, I don't know, flushing the toilet in the bathroom or whatever, right?
Yeah.
There's like a TV tax. You have to pay a tax to have a television in Israel. To have a television, a TV tax. Dude, when I first moved to Israel, somebody came to my apartment. They're like, or no, a thing came, a bill. You have a TV tax. I'm like, they thought I had, because I brought, like a big screen, a monitor for my computer because I was trading. They're like, that's a TV. I'm like, it's not a TV, it's a monitor. Like, it's just a monitor for a computer. I don't have a TV. Oh, it turned out it wasn't that. What was it? It was the previous owner. It was this old lady who was one of the original, like, people from the founders of the state of Israel, residents of Tel Aviv, had an old TV in the house for many, many years. And the grandson just like never, he got rid of it, but he never, like, you have to unregister it from the house. So it was still registered to the apartment. We're like, we don't have a TV. We quite literally do not have a TV. I'm like, welcome to Israel.
Dude,
I don't even know if they still have this, but
I'm getting agitated. I don't want to hear
yeah,
about the stupid Israeli
yeah,
system.
yeah,
I love Israel. I love Israelis.
yeah,
I despise their
yeah.
system of life and government.
Oh, they got rid of the TV tax, thank God. Abolished in 2015. Thank you very much. Baruch Hashem. God. Since 1965, any Israeli household that owned a TV set was legally required to pay an annual tax,
I
$100
started this. We
a year.
started this podcast tired and exhausted.
Yeah,
Just don't talk to me about
yeah,
these kinds of things. Я не
yeah.
могу. Я не могу.
It's over. They got rid of it. No more pain, Frank. No more pain.
Can I tell you
Uh,
something? Let just.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did,
No,
did
so
you?
back to, I was just gonna say, so regarding the Talmud, just to kind of like close that thing, uh, just difficult mathematical stuff. And the first thing the Nazis did when they went into Jewish homes in Europe was look for the Talmuds. Because they knew if you get rid of Talmud, the Jew cannot keep a holiday. He doesn't know how. The Torah, the five books of Moses tells us the what. The Talmud or the Mishnah really, but the discussions in the Talmud tell us the how
And the why.
and the why and the how. And they knew that.
Everybody who hates Jews,
Yeah,
they're they're first everybody who hates Jews, and let's say even people who don't feel that they hate Jews, but
yeah,
feel that they need to change the Jews.
yeah,
You have that kind of category too.
yeah,
We won't say who we're talking about here. I think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
okay. They also go against the Talmud,
Yeah, of course they do.
right? So that's
They like to say, oh, they made the rabbis into God. The Jew, the rabbis. No, they accuse us of doing that.
the the Talmud is the most important thing, folks.
Yeah,
It's the most important thing because not only it gives you, like we said many times on this podcast, you wouldn't be able to even write a Hebrew scroll from Tanakh, from the Hebrew scripture, without the Talmud. The Talmud preserves the instructions on how to properly write a scroll, okay,
yeah,
and how to all the Hebrew grammar to understand the words are preserved in the Talmud. They're encoded there and preserved. You wouldn't know how to read and understand the Bible, period. Everybody's Bibles, right? They're the Hebrew scripture, which Christians say they consider the word of God. They wouldn't have their translations of it without the Jews being able to preserve the integrity of the scrolls that we write these not stories, but the prophecies on, right? You have the five books of Moses, all the prophets and the writings, what we call Tanakh, right? The meanings of the words, the spacings of the words, the dots, the dashes, the grammars, the vowels, everything, all of that preserves the Bible. Okay. You wouldn't have the Bible without the Talmud,
yeah,
without the oral tradition.
yeah.
I just wanted to say that. Um, can I tell you one thing?
Mm. Yeah.
I heard something pretty amazing today that I never heard, and it kind of just made me go, wow. I was listening to something that Tovia Singer was saying. He was saying that when the Romans breached the walls, right, before and after, the Jews were murdering each other
Yeah,
physically.
I know.
Still constant civil war,
Yeah,
which didn't stop even after the Romans breached the walls of Jerusalem. They continued murdering, factions continued murdering each other,
yeah,
even after the Romans were murdering everybody.
yeah,
And basically it said that if there had been any unity at all, like unity in the sense of just can you stop murdering each other? At
yeah,
least while Romans
yeah,
are here,
yeah,
they could have fought off the Romans.
yeah, yeah,
They
they
could
could.
have come to some kind of like
Yeah.
stance,
Stalemate. Yeah, yeah,
stalemate and preserved. Maybe the temple would still be standing.
yeah.
I never understood.
People always say the Roman, I mean, they were the ones that eventually kicked us out, but people always like to harp on the Romans, the Romans, the Romans. They finished off what we started amongst each other.
It's hard to imagine.
Not that hard to imagine for me.
It's hard to imagine that Jews were ever that retarded.
Have
It
you
sounds
seen the,
almost like it sounds almost like dumb Arabs.
speaking of Israel, have you seen the judicial
No,
reform
no,
stuff?
no,
Yeah.
dude, give me a break. I mean, the stuff. I'm not saying it's perfect right now,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
compared to that
yeah,
factoid, they were
yeah,
murdering each
yeah.
other while the Romans were. That's like that's like that's like Pakistani street food vendor retarded.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not retarded in that sense that you're thinking of. I'll tell you like this. The what is it called? The people at that time, there were the factions. Who were the factions? The factions were, you had the zealots, and then within the zealots, you even had these guys called the Sikari. The guys that walk into the, into the marketplace with a knife hidden, and they would find like a Roman senator and stab him.
Yeah, they'd murder
So
Romans. I like
yeah,
that.
so, no, so you do like that. I also like that. But
I'm not saying I like everything they did, but I like that.
no, what I mean is the rabbis, some of the rabbis, were against that because they did not want to rabble rouse the so-called occupation. Uh, some of them were for, right? Some of these guys, they were for burning the granaries, right? There was this whole thing like, do we burn the granaries? Do we not burn the granaries? All this kind of stuff. So it's not a question of retarded. It's a question of, again, it's funny. When I first went to yeshiva, somebody told me about the very, very virulent arguments and kind of disputes between the students of the Baal Shem Tov and the students of Gaon and Vilna, right?
Yeah.
And they told me about this whole rift between, these Hasidic Jews and the Jews from Lithuania and all that kind of stuff. And to me, first of all, as a person who didn't grow up religious, secondly, just in general, having read ideologies or having read books that were written by people on all, the rabbis who were from different camps, the stuff is not really like, yeah, there's some, I guess, philosophical kind of a little bit differences, approaches, but in general, the concepts are the same. So when I first heard that whole story, right, I thought it was silly. And then my friend who told me this story, right, about this rift, he said, dude, you say it's silly now. If you lived at that time, you would not think it's so silly. Like you think it's retarded, but it's not that silly at that time. At that time, there was some furniture moving around this effort.
Not, dude, let me
Yeah,
respond to what you just said.
yeah,
There was a rift, and the rift had to do with distrust
yeah,
because of Shabtai Tzvi.
yeah,
You have to put it into
correct. Yeah,
context.
correct. But yeah,
Shabtai, let me just for the folks at home,
yeah,
Shabtai Tzvi was a Sufi Muslim infiltrator into the Jewish community who
I mean,
started
I mean, he was ethnically Jewish.
he was okay, but
Yeah, I'm just
just
saying.
like he was from Turkey. He was
Okay,
originally he grew up in Turkey.
okay,
And his 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 grave site, which I believe is in Albania, is a pilgrimage site for Sufi Muslims to this day.
yeah,
People into Hermetic,
hmm,
Gnosticism,
yeah,
Sufi Muslims, okay. So it's my opinion, I'm sure I'm not the only one, that he was a Sufi Muslim infiltrator.
it's
He
possible.
was he was technically, or he might have been ethnically Jewish or born to a Jewish family, but I
Right.
think he was recruited very, very, very early. Okay. He became very knowledgeable in Torah studies
Yeah,
and then began infusing, he gained the trust of some communities posing as a religious Jew.
yeah,
And this is a pattern that occurred all throughout the Enlightenment,
yeah,
where you have infiltrators coming into Jewish communities in Eastern Europe, posing as religious Jews, and then teaching the kids, you know, before they realize who this guy was, he already like poisoned the minds of lots of kids. It happened all the time, and Chabad was very, we read about it. About some of these people kept journals
yeah,
as to their progress. Uh, you know, in making religious Jewish kids, uh, divorcing themselves from observance and from keeping commandments and from teaching them to hate God and stuff like that. The early communists were a part of that.
yeah,
Okay, but just going back to Shabtai Tzvi in the 1600s, right? So Shabtai Tzvi, he came right after the uh, Khmelnytsky. I'm saying it the American way. Khmelnytsky
yeah,
massacres. There was this. filthy piece of Cossack garbage called Bogdan Khmelnytsky.
Yeah.
He was a Polak Ukrainian, something
Yeah.
like that, one of those
Yeah.
things, okay? Who he killed like I don't know what percentage of
They
the
say
Jews.
300,000 supposedly.
It's hard to tell. It was in the 1600s. It was like
Yeah. Yeah.
the majority of the Jews in Eastern Europe at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the stuff that they did was like October 7th times
Yeah.
you got a glimpse into.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the Jewish community was absolutely devastated. The
Yeah.
word reeling or all these understatements, okay?
Yeah.
And people were, you could probably imagine, in a vulnerable state.
Yeah.
And some of them still were shockingly religious and cared about God and stuff like that, which is
Yeah.
itself, you know, you could call that miraculous, I guess. Okay. But they were vulnerable and they wanted the Messiah to come because they felt that what they had just gone through was so bad that perhaps
Yeah.
surely God will have mercy on us and send the Messiah after something like that. So then this was, somebody exploited that whole sentiment from the Jews
Yeah.
and presented himself as that. And the guy was a Sufi Muslim infiltrator. He had already, in my view, converted way before that, posing as a rabbi, using his ethnicity as a
Yeah.
way to gain some prominence in the
Yeah.
community
Yeah.
and trust the
And
people.
by
And
the way, he had an impresario, this guy, Nathan from Gaza.
yeah, right, his
In,
whatever.
in, in the event you guys think that we are occupiers in Gaza, there's a guy in the 1600s. The most famous Shabbat song, by the way, was written by Rabbi Israel Nachara, who's a legit rabbi, who was the chief rabbi at that time, actually before then, in 1500s, chief rabbi of Gaza.
So
So,
yeah,
yeah,
that's right. So basically, um, this guy, Shabtai feet, this infiltrator that we're telling you about, he told people, listen, in order to bring the Messiah or the redemption, you have to become evil,
yeah,
and you got to start not keeping commandments.
yeah,
And if you're going to keep commandments, you got to do it in a really pervy way. And he was just
yeah,
before anybody, but before people found out what he was doing,
yeah,
because he kept that kind of stuff in his inner circle, like the
yeah,
closest people. But
yeah,
he had a lot of followers who were still
yeah,
conventional Orthodox Jews who didn't know
yeah,
what he was up to. By
yeah,
the time word got out about what he was actually doing, most Jews abandoned him,
yeah,
right? But a small group kind of
yeah,
stayed loyal to him. And then by that time, they had already gotten back to Turkey because he was coming from Eastern Europe, right? Back to where he came from, to Turkey.
yeah,
He went to Turkey, and then the official story is that he got captured. Look at me,
yeah,
captured.
yeah.
Look at the confetti. Uh,
Yay!
he got captured by the Sultan of Turkey,
Yeah,
and look at me, forced to convert
yeah.
to
Un,
Islam. And
under
his
under the under
followers,
the foot
yeah,
sword. Yeah,
yeah. So that was the plan from the beginning.
yeah.
The Ottoman Sultan or whoever it was that was probably in on it from the beginning.
It could be.
That was another way of completely devastating the Jews,
Yeah,
right? Like, to exploit the vulnerability of the gigantic massacre and the Holocaust that happened
yeah,
in the 1600s,
yeah,
right? Play on their emotions, make them, follow this idiot,
yeah.
sell all the property, follow this idiot out of Eastern Europe, who says he's taking them to Israel, but really the goal was to take them to Turkey and force them all to convert to Islam or convince them all, trick them.
Possible. Yeah, possible.
Okay, so that's what happened.
But in the meanwhile, there was a lot of because that the reason people shied away. For example, right after that happened, that whole episode, you had oh, that's my father calling. Sorry, just 1 second. I apologize.
Okay, so I'll use this moment to further entertain you folks. Um, so after that entire incident, right? Um, because Shabtai Tzvi claimed to teach people what's popularly known today as Kabbalah, right? So people became very weary after the Shabtai Tzvi incident, right? In the early to mid 1700s, which is, you know, like the next generation of people, right? Who are still reeling from Shabtai Tzvi, right? Trying to rebuild their lives, right? So people who claim to be teaching Kabbalah publicly, like he did, now started to become viewed as suspicious in the Jewish community. Kabbalah was not rejected, but it's sort of like, we better leave it to the scholars, let the scholars learn it amongst themselves, and we're going to be weary about people who claim to be teaching it
Sorry about
publicly,
that. Yeah.
right? So then comes along the Baal Shem Tov.
Yeah. I was just gonna say real quick, right after
Yeah,
Shabtai Tzvi, you had Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, who was like a young, basically genius who wrote his books and based on Kabbalah, and people were so, traumatized from the whole Kabbalah thing that they wanted, they literally chased him around Italy. They wanted to, they thought he was some kind of associated with Shabtai Tzvi or all this stuff. And ironically, now, obviously after his death, his books became basically a staple in Jewish world. Now you walk into any yeshiva, you'll just see volumes upon volumes of Ramchal, Rabbi Homer Chaim
yeah,
Zlata's books.
yeah.
But at that time, it was really like people were anti him completely because they were just like
They weren't traumatized by Kabbalah. They were
yeah,
traumatized by people
messianism. Yeah.
who even appeared to be
Hmm.
even preparing to teach
Correct.
Kabbalah publicly.
Correct. And
That
lead
was that,
people and lead people and all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
right, because it was like, so again, people respected the Kabbalah, but
Yeah.
felt that
Hmm.
it should be left to the scholars and regular people shouldn't be
Yeah.
listening to it
Yeah.
because anybody who's teaching Kabbalah
Yeah.
to kind of the non-scholarly class
Yeah. Yeah.
must be one of these Shabtai Tzvi people who is trying to manipulate regular people.
Yeah.
Everybody was just so terrified of another incident like this, so they became overly suspicious of everyone.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, even some of the greatest legitimate scholars.
Yeah.
Okay, it
Yeah.
was a crazy, it was a horrible time.
Yeah.
Okay, so along comes the
That was
Baal
damage.
Shem Tov.
Yeah.
Okay, who was, you know, whatever he was a very charismatic figure, and he was a person who wanted Jews uh, to have like love and passion in their service, not to just be quiet like these like kind of like pale kind of sit there and like whip yourself, kind of that kind of people. I'm so bad, I'm so evil, I'm evil, I must repent for my sins, all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff, right? Which
Yeah.
is very similar to what Christians were doing to themselves
Yeah.
uh, at that time. Some to this
Self-flagellation.
day.
Yeah.
He was saying, no, a Jew is supposed to have a loving, passionate relationship with God on a personal level. So he was teaching Kabbalistic concepts, but he he was teaching them in a way that was accessible
Yeah.
to even like the simplest people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He was not focusing on approaching and teaching these ideas to scholars.
Yeah.
I mean, he wouldn't reject them, but
Yeah.
he was just doing this to the simplest Jewish people, to the
Yeah.
lady who's like knitting stuff, and to the guy, the
Yeah.
cobbler, the guy who's
Yeah.
like carrying, walking with his donkey, whatever, regular people,
Yeah.
farmers, stuff
Yeah.
like that. And again, that was looked at as, oh my God, here's another shop. It was
Yeah.
so that's really what the rift was about. Okay,
Yeah.
it's about like certain charismatic figures, people being scared of them,
Yeah.
and it's kind of understandable
Yeah.
because of how horrible Shop Tzvi was, and then years
Yeah.
later, Jacob Frank. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It didn't even
Yeah.
stop with Shop Tzvi. There was another guy, Jacob Frank, and there were other people too
I
in
I feel
in China.
I feel like it's like your brother is almost like the Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto or the Baal Shem Tov of medicine. You know, it's like he took something. supposedly complicated. He literally distilled it down to something very simple, and all the people are just like, I mean, in this case, it was just more like people were just like, well, it can't be this simple. How could it be this simple? How could it be this simple? Like this is a nascent virus that we've never seen. You mean to tell me a guy came up with something for it, within a couple of weeks? As it turns out, if people actually heard the damn story, he didn't do that in a couple of weeks. He found it. He found something that the guy who made the virus came up with it 10 years prior. So the whole thing was like a 10-year journey. And it wasn't even his journey. It was some other guy. He just uncovered it and made it his own, whatever, right?
You know, something just on that topic, because you mentioned my brother.
Yeah.
I'm managing his first Twitter account, right?
Yeah.
I got a message today from somebody. I probably shouldn't say this. Uh,
Mhm.
I shouldn't say his name, but
Don't say the
he
name, whatever.
writes,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say his name. I'll tell you privately because
Yeah, sure,
whatever.
sure. Yeah.
He writes, Hey, Dr. Zev, I hope you've been doing well. It's been a while. I've been working on a new project that I think you may find interesting. If you're open to hearing more, feel free to reach out to me on
I don't,
Telegram.
I don't think
Okay?
this person got the memo, but yeah.
No, but it's astonishing to me. We're in 2026, and this is somebody who was on my brother was on his show.
Interesting.
How could it be that he doesn't know what happened in 2022? Like, is it possible? I don't know if maybe he's
Can you
experiencing
text me this
dementia.
person's name?
Yeah,
Maybe I'll give you an answer.
and it makes me feel like
I'll give you an answer that I think based on
it
without
could be
saying this
that
person's name.
it could be the person. It could be
Yeah,
like somebody managing his account.
it's possible. Yeah,
Like these guys have
yeah, they have
like
handlers.
kids managing their stuff.
Yeah.
I put it in the wrong chat.
Oh, yeah, no, I see it. Uh,
Like, can you believe that? Like, how could that?
um, yeah, that sounds like somebody.
It can't be him. It can't be.
It sounds like somebody who's working for him because the guy's too. People know him. Let's put it that way. People know him, and I'm sure he would have heard that your brother. You know, yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
he got some Indian kid to run his account or something like that. You know?
Yeah, 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 or like AI or something like that, or whatever. Yeah. Interesting.
No, it can't be AI. AI heard of what happened. What happened? AI,
Yeah, but
no.
yeah, you got somebody to do it and whatever it is. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
So anyway, did you want to begin this tonight?
We can, yeah.
No, it's up
Let
to you.
me.
I'm not forcing it. Or we can look at
I
you
mean,
choose.
I don't have that book. Had I known, I
Which
would
way,
have.
Western man? Which way? You know that meme?
Yeah. We could do like a little bit of both if you want. Let me go get the book. Actually, I
Yeah.
have to let the cat in as well. Just give me a sec.
I can begin reading the intro or something. Okay, folks, here we go. I'm very excited about this. How the British invented communism and blamed it on the Jews. I don't know what to expect in this. Okay. I definitely like the title. It's very consistent with what I've read for many years now. Okay. Okay. So, um, forward by Nur bin Laden. It's kind of fascinating. I don't know if we're going to read the forward, but read the intro. All right, squeaky. Second. Get my grandpa glasses on. Oh, my wife's gonna make she's gonna grind coffee now. Okay, that's fine. It won't take long. Okay, I'll skip the forward and I'll skip the acknowledgements. Oh, Murzik. Wow. That's the first time you ever brought Murzik on the air, by the way. You know? Part one. Are you muted? Yeah, you're muted.
He's quite wily like his old man. Hey,
Yes.
Blink. Blinky. Yeah. I have to give him his thyroid medication because he
Okay. No
overactive
caused.
thyroid.
I'm gonna start it. I'll just
Yes.
there's just a forward. There was an intro. It's
Yeah.
fine.
He likes listening to these things, by the way.
Okay.
Scholar.
Churchill accuses the Jews.
Yes.
Hmm. Okay. This movement among the Jews is not new. Quote, wrote Winston Churchill. Uh, he continues, from the days of Karl Marx and down to Trotsky, this worldwide conspiracy for the overthrow of civilization has been steadily growing. Churchill was talking about communism. It was February 8th, 1920. As Churchill wrote, all eyes were on Russia, where Bolsheviks and anti-Bolsheviks, uh, the Reds and the Whites, were battling for control of the country. Before it was over, some 10 million people would die in the Russian Civil War, mostly civilians, and mostly from disease, famine, and mass atrocities on both sides. From this slaughter, the world's first communist state would emerge. Churchill blamed it on a worldwide conspiracy. That was the quote, worldwide conspiracy, and then the author here writes of Jews. Okay.
Mhm.
I don't think Churchill used the words of Jews, but our author here does.
Mhm.
In a full-page article in London's Illustrated Sunday Herald, Churchill wrote, there is no need to exaggerate the part played in the creation of Bolshevism and in the actual bringing about of the Russian Revolution by these international and, for the most part, atheistical Jews.
Yeah.
The majority of the leading figures are Jews. Moreover, the principal inspiration and driving power comes from the Jewish leaders Litvinov,
Mm-hmm.
Trotsky, Zinoviev,
Zinoviev, yeah.
Radek, all Jews. Churchill declared that the subversive role of Jewish revolutionaries, in proportion to their number in the population, was astonishing. He wrote, in quote, astonishing, not only in Russia, but throughout Europe. These Jewish conspirators had now, quote, gripped the Russian people by the hair of their heads, Churchill said. Unless something was done, many more nations would succumb to what he called, quote, the schemes of the international Jews, unquote. Just a second. Let me just, my glasses are.
The surprising thing about this book is the the foreword is from Osama bin Laden's niece, who's like a pro-American, pro-Israel, pro-Trump. Her name is Noor bin Laden.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
crazy.
He continues.
Yeah.
Churchill spoke for the British government. Many readers will be surprised to hear such words from Churchill. I know, I was surprised. We've been conditioned to think of him as the arch nemesis of Hitler and the Nazis, a role he took on later in life. But in 1920, Churchill's views, at least his public views, were hardly distinguishable from Hitler's. As Secretary of War, Churchill spoke with the full authority of the British government. His article faithfully echoed Britain's official propaganda of the time. In April 1919, the British Foreign Office had issued a report called the Russia #1 White Paper, a collection of reports on Bolshevism in Russia, also known as the Bolshevik Atrocity Blue Book. It identified Jews as the driving force behind the Tsar's murder and the Bolshevik Revolution. The British press followed up with a coordinated anti-Jewish propaganda campaign, expressly promoting the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, a document of dubious origin purporting to reveal a Jewish plot to enslave the world. Embarrassing breadcrumb trail. When the protocols first appeared in Russia in 1903, they made little impact. However, British media now gave the protocols new life, rolling out the first ever British edition in February 1920 under the title The Jewish Peril, Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. The hand of the British government was evident in the publication of this book. The people involved, in producing it, the people involved in producing it left, quote, an embarrassing breadcrumb trail to the door of the British establishment, notes Alan Sargent in his 2021 study, The Protocols Matrix. Sargent concludes that the Jewish peril was, quote, part of the sophisticated propaganda offensive conceived and financed at the highest levels of British power. The translators of the Jewish peril, George Shanks and Edward G.G. Burden, were military men with ties to Britain's war propaganda apparatus. Its publisher, Eyre and Spottiswoode, was a respected government press. My God, it's hard to see here. Press entrusted with publishing the King James Bible, the Anglican Prayer Book, and other works owned by the Crown. The Jewish Peril's first press run of 30,000 copies exceeded that of F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby in 1925. According to Sargent, the promotional campaign for the Jewish Peril was so professionally devised that practically all of Britain's national and regional newspapers had received a copy for review by the first week of February 1920. That is just in time for the splash created by Churchill's February 8 article. In the months ahead, leading British newspapers promoted the Jewish Peril. The London Morning Post ran a lengthy series of articles based on the book. Quote, read the startling revelations of what is causing the world's unrest. Read about the evil Jews' influence, ran a July 20th, 1920 advertisement for the series. The Times of London went so far as to question whether World War I had been fought against the wrong enemy. How we escaped a Pax Germanica only to fall into a Pax Judaica, asked a Times editorial of May 8th, 1920. Hey, Greg,
Yes, sir. Sorry about that.
would you like to
Yes.
read a little bit too?
Yeah.
Blame shifting. Oh, that actually, sorry, that's the yeah, still one more little section before chapter
Yeah.
2.
Yeah. Why did the British establishment turn so suddenly on the Jews? I believe this was done to provide a scapegoat, a Jewish scapegoat, to deflect from British complicity in the Russian Revolution. To be clear, Churchill was not wrong when he said Jews were disproportionately represented in the Bolshevik movement. They were, but that was only half the story. The other half is that the Bolsheviks themselves were pawns in the larger game, a British game, and Churchill knew that. In the interest of full disclosure, I should mention that my grandma and my grandpa, my father's parents, this is the author, were Jews born and raised in the former Russian Empire. They lived through the horrors of the Russian Civil War and were still experiencing those horrors when Churchill wrote his article in 1920. I cannot claim perfect objectivity in this matter, but I do think I can be fair. I dedicate this small historical correction to the memory of my grandma and grandpa, Pesha Lazarevna Burde and Raphael Aronovich Pogrebsky. Pogrebisky. In the
Pogrebnitsky.
hope, in the hopes that these words, long overdue, may help ease their final rest. I'm just going to continue reading. This says, it's a short thing about Trotsky.
Yeah.
Leon Trotsky, British agent. This is chapter 2. The reality is that the Bolsheviks had no power to overthrow the Russian government nor defeat the Russian military. Without British help, they could have done neither. All the dirty secrets of the Russian Revolution, this may be the dirtiest of all the dirty secrets. Our story begins with Leon Trotsky. It was Trotsky who directed the Bolshevik coup of November 7th, 1917, and Trotsky who led the Red Army to victory in the Russian Civil War. Without Trotsky, there would have been no Soviet Union. But Trotsky did not accomplish these feats on his own. He had help from the British government. Trotsky's long-standing ties to the British intelligence have never been adequately explained. When the Tsar was overthrown on March 15, 1917, Trotsky was working as a journalist in New York City. He set sail for Russia, but British authorities arrested him when his ship stopped in Halifax, Nova Scotia. The British held Trotsky for a month in a Canadian internment camp. For reasons unknown, the British Secret Service came to Trotsky's rescue, ordering his release. The order came from William Wiseman, U.S. Station Chief for Britain's Foreign Intelligence Division, later known as MI6. Following Trotsky's release on April 29, 1917, my cat is going crazy. He embarked for Russia and joined the revolution. The rest is history.
Your cat might be a British agent. Watch out.
Exactly. Scratchy. In Russia, British handlers kept Trotsky close. One of his handlers was Claire Sheridan, who happened to be Winston Churchill's first cousin. She was a sculptress who claimed to be a Bolshevik sympathizer. Sheridan sculpted Trotsky's portrait and was rumored to be his lover. Reliable sources have identified Sheridan as a British spy. Trotsky was banished by Stalin in 1929, spending the rest of his life on the run. Eventually, they ended up killing him in Mexico. During the Moscow treason trials of 1936-1938, Trotsky was convicted in absentia of working for Britain's Secret Intelligence Service. The star witness against him was the Soviet diplomat Christian Rakovsky, who testified that British intelligence had blackmailed him in London in 1924, used a forged letter, all allegedly with Trotsky's knowledge and approval. I went to Moscow and talked to Trotsky afterwards, quote, Rakovsky testified. Trotsky said that the forged letter was only an excuse. He argued, he agreed that we were to work with the British intelligence. Soviet show trials are not the most reliable sources. However, a good deal of independent evidence corroborates Rakovsky's testimony. If Rakovsky's charge is true, then Trotsky was already working for British intelligence in 1924. Some evidence suggests that British handlers may have been grooming Trotsky as early as 1902. He was plainly receiving special courtesies from Britain's Secret Services in 1917 when MI6 mysteriously freed Trotsky from a Canadian internment camp. For all these reasons, it seems reasonable to conclude that Trotsky was a British asset and probably a trusted asset of long standing. In February 1920, when Churchill decided to publicly denounce him as a scheming, quote, international Jew. Seen in this light, Churchill's anti-Jewish rant in the Illustrated Sunday Herald begins to look like play acting, like the spinning of an elaborate yarn, a cover story. But covering for what? What was Churchill trying to hide by blaming Jews and Trotsky in particular for the Russian Revolution? You will not find the answer in the conventional history books. The story has been erased, but in 1920, memories were still fresh. Witnesses were speaking out. The British faced hard questions about their role in the Russian Revolution. They needed a scapegoat. I want to continue reading. I just finished this, and then because it's part 2 after that. Just read this chapter.
Okay.
Chapter 3: Betraying the Russian Royals. Sir George Buchanan, who was British ambassador to Russia from 1910 to 1918, would devote 16 pages of his 1923 memoir to denying that Great Britain had orchestrated the Russian Revolution. Why did he need to deny this? The reason is that prominent Russian exiles were accusing Britain of complicity in the revolution. Among them, Princess Olga Paley, pronounced Palay, 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 sorry.
Olay.
Yeah, widow of the Tsar's uncle, Grand Duke Paul. Paul was the brother of Tsar Alexander III, Nicholas II's father. In the June 1922 Revue de Paris, Princess Palay wrote, the English embassy, on orders from Prime Minister Lloyd George, had become the hotbed of propaganda. The liberals, Prince Lvov, Miliukov, Rodzianko, Maklakov, Guchkov, met there constantly. It was at the English embassy that it was decided to abandon the legal ways and embark on the path of revolution. The princess likewise accused French ambassador Maurice Paleologue of assisting Buchanan in these intrigues, albeit reluctantly. His position at this period was very delicate, she wrote. He, Paleologue, was getting from Paris the most definite orders in support of everything the policy of his English colleague, and yet he realized that this policy was contrary to the interests of France. France subservient to England. Paleologue admits in his own 1925 memoir that Buchanan's collusion with Russian radicals often put the French embassy in an awkward position. Quote, I have been questioned several times about Buchanan's relations with the liberal parties, and actually asked in all seriousness if he is not secretly working for a revolution, writes Paleologue in an entry dated December 28, 1916. Paleologue routinely denied such charges, insisting that Buchanan was a perfect gentleman who would think it an utter disgrace to intrigue against a sovereign to whose court he is accredited. In response, a certain Prince Vyazemsky once gave Paleologue a challenging glance, quote, challenging glance, and retorted, but if his government has ordered him to encourage our anarchists, he is obliged to do so. Paleologue countered, if his government ordered him to steal a fork the next time he dines with the emperor, do you think he would obey? Paleologue doubtless understood that if ordered to do so, his British colleague would not only steal a fork, but every last stick of the Tsar's silverware. Nonetheless, with nearly 3 million German troops inching toward Paris, France, dependent on Britain for her very survival, was in no position to rock the boat. When Princess Palay identified the British embassy as the nerve center of the revolution, she was not just passing along gossip. She had inside knowledge of British operations in St. Petersburg, or Petrograd as it was renamed in 1914. Her husband, Grand Duke Paul, was deeply involved in the intrigues leading up to the Tsar's abdication. At every step, he and his royal relatives worked closely with the British embassy. His son Dmitri, the princess's stepson, was also caught up in the British plots. On December 30th, 1916, Dmitri took part in the assassination of the mad monk Rasputin. For 100 years, historians have told us this operation was led by Prince Felix Yusupov, a gay, cross-dressing socialite, but all evidence suggests that the real leader was Lieutenant Oswald Rayner, a British intelligence operative who had been Yusupov's close friend at Oxford. Rayner was present at the murder scene and is believed to have fired the fatal bullet into Rasputin's head, according to Andrew Cook's To Kill Rasputin, 2006. According to Cook, a secret British communication confirmed the killing, stating, quote, our objective has clearly been achieved. Reaction to the demise of dark forces has been well received by all. Rayner is attending to the loose ends. Dark forces, quote, was British code for Rasputin and his cabal of reactionary followers at the Russian court. We can thus see that Princess Palay and her family had rendered many services to the British crown, even to the point of deceiving their own sovereign. Despite these services, the princess and her family were betrayed and abandoned by the British, as indeed all of Russia was betrayed. Russian liberals like Grand Duke Paul had been led to believe that Britain would help them establish an enlightened constitutional monarchy in Russia, run on democratic principles. They actually tried to write a constitution. It was lasted for a year, in between the revolution and Lenin.
Yeah.
Instead, Russia got 5 years of civil war, followed by 70 years of communist rule. In the end, Princess Palay's husband and her only son were murdered by the Bolsheviks her husband shot, her son Vladimir thrown down a coal shaft and crushed by logs and stones. A strange ally, Great Britain, quote, the princess mused in her 1924 autobiography, Memories of Russia, 1916 to 1919. In her book, the princess wonders how Russians could have been fooled into trusting the British. For in the history of Russia, she writes, the animosity of England traces a red line across 3 centuries. She was right. The princess correctly notes the Britons struggled for 300 years to stop Russia from attaining what she calls a free sea, by which she meant access to warm water ports. Much blood has been spilled over this. Bolshevism, the princess suggests, was just one more weapon deployed by the British to keep Russia weak. Is it not to Great Britain that we owe the continuation of the Russian agony? She asked. Great Britain supports wittingly the government of the Soviets so as not to allow the real Russia, the national Russia, to come to life again and raise itself up. All evidence suggests that Princess Palais was right. The Bolsheviks were indeed pawns in a British chess game. It's interesting because Marx himself meant for communism to be implemented in an industrial society like England. That was his intention. His intention was not Russia.
May I read?
I mean,
This is chapter 4 already?
this is yeah, because it's well, it was chapter.
Part 2.
Yeah, now it's in part 2. Britain's 300-year blood feud.
Part
Yeah,
2. Britain's 300-year
you could read these 2
blood
pages and then we'll go on to the next
Ru-
book.
with Russia. Okay. I'm hoping I really want to I hope he covers
Yeah.
the actual, the early British communists, the ones who influenced Marx.
I believe yes, he does. I think because he covers. I'm just looking at the table of contents. Yeah, he covers Marx. Marx's aristocratic handler, war against the middle class, bourgeois revolution.
Whereas I call him, the
Yeah,
Marx was the guest to the dinner for schmucks.
yeah, yeah. Sir, if you want, you could keep reading. I just need to like tend to this cat because he's going insane.
Okay, you're gonna post this right away as a
As a
clip,
clip,
right?
yes, I will. Yes.
Okay, so you can, but you got to listen to it so you can know where.
Oh, well, yeah,
No,
obviously I
no, I'm
will.
saying
Yeah,
like
yeah,
when
yeah,
she
yeah.
posts.
Obviously, yeah, yeah. Of course.
Okay, here we go.
100%.
Chapter 4, Old Rivals. Ever since Russia's first emergence as a world power during the 17th century, British statesmen had regarded the Slavic Empire with suspicion. They foresaw that Russia might one day prove an obstacle to England's ambitions in the East. Britain's antagonism toward Russia persisted through World War I. In the Great War, Britain and Russia were technically allies, but the British believed they had more to gain in Russia if Russia lost than if she won. This is yet another dirty secret underlying many mysteries of the Russian Revolution. In 1915, the Russians were in full retreat, taking heavy losses. The Germans, Austrians, and Turks were advancing on 3 fronts. Germany offered Russia a separate peace. Tsar Nicholas was tempted to accept. The Allies could not permit that, so they made Tsar Nicholas an offer he couldn't refuse. In March 1915, the Allies concluded a secret pact with the Tsar, promising to give him Constantinople and the Dardanelles in the event of an Allied victory. The only condition was that Russia must stay in the war and fight to the bitter end. Russia accepted these terms, but subsequent events made clear that the British never intended to keep their promise. As Princess Palais noted, keeping Russia out of the Mediterranean was a centuries-old British second was a centuries-old British policy. If Russia were allowed to take the Dardanelles now, her warships could challenge British control of the Suez Canal and trade routes to the east. No British government in 1915 would have allowed that. Russian defeat, a British war goal? Question mark. In her memoir, Princess Palais states that British Prime Minister Lloyd George, quote, on hearing of the fall of Tsarism in Russia, rubbed his hands together, saying, "One of England's war aims has been attained." The princess does not name her source, and the quote is likely apocryphal. Nonetheless, the story reveals the suspicion many Russians felt regarding England's hidden motives. Some evidence suggests that British leaders really did hope and plan for the defeat of their Russian ally from the very outset of the war, from the very outset of the war. This is certainly the attitude of Lord Herbert Kitchener, who served as Secretary of War from August 5th, 1914 to his death on June 5th, 1916. In his 1989 book, A Peace to End All Peace, U.S. historian David Fromkin notes that Lord Kitchener viewed Russia as a permanent enemy, the only European power capable of challenging British supremacy in Asia. Fromkin writes, quote, "In Kitchener's view, Germany was an enemy in Europe and Russia was an enemy in Asia. The paradox of the 1914 war, in which Britain and Russia were allied, was that by winning in Europe, Britain risked losing in Asia. The only completely satisfactory outcome of the war, from Kitchener's point of view, was for Germany to lose it without Russia winning it. And in 1914, it was not clear how that could be accomplished. As it happens, the British managed to achieve precisely the result Kitchener sought. Germany lost the war, but Russia failed to win it." It's funny, every time I hear Kitchener, I think of Kitchener Leslie, the Norm Macdonald's, he does this whole routine of Kitchener Leslie. He tells the story. Anyway, chapter 5. Should I continue a bit? The Great Game? No?
Yes, yes. Let me see.
I'm stoked about this book. I want to
Yeah,
make a nice little dent. It's only 2 pages. I'll get through it
yeah,
quick.
yeah.
Okay, The Great Game. The British had long experience outwitting and outfoxing Russia. They called it the Great Game. British intelligence officer Arthur Connolly is said to have coined the term Great Game in 1840, to describe the intricate spy versus spy maneuvers of British and Russian agents vying for advantage in the wastes of Central Asia. As British as Britain tried desperately to slow Russia's advance toward India. However, the Great Game was not just about India, nor did it begin in 1840. It had been going on for centuries. When English explorers first made contact with Russia in 1553, they found a weak, isolated realm, struggling to drive out the last of the Asiatic warlords who had conquered Russia 300 years earlier. Mongol and Tatar princes still held the Black Sea coast in 1553, just as they had since the days of Genghis Khan. But now they were vassals of Suleiman the Magnificent, the Turkish Sultan. Russia's southern coast was under Turkish control. Russian ships could not sail the Black Sea without the Sultan's permission. Tsar Ivan IV, known as Ivan the Terrible, welcomed the British traders at first, but became angry when they demanded a monopoly over Russian trade. For their impudence, Ivan expelled the newly established British Muscovy Company. Why England backed the Turks. 200 years later, Russia was no longer weak. The Russian Empress Catherine the Great had finally succeeded in expelling the Turks from the Black Sea shore. after fighting 2 wars with the Sultan. And Catherine's success set off alarm bells in London. The Russians now had seaports on the Black Sea, threatening British control of the Mediterranean. When the Black Sea fortress of, of Ochakov fell to Russian forces in 1788, the English threatened war, demanding that Catherine return the fortress to the Sultan. She refused. The British backed down, dropping their ultimatum, but vowed to stop further Russian expansion. Their strategy was to play off Muslim against Christian. For the next 100 years, the British propped up the faltering Ottoman Empire as a counterweight to keep Russia in check. Their plan was to keep Muslims and Christians locked in a permanent stalemate or, quote, balance of power, a never-ending conflict which neither side could win. Both powers would thus be neutralized, leaving the British free to do as they pleased in the Eastern Mediterranean. The Greek plan. Catherine's strategy was the opposite of the British. Instead of pitting Muslim against Christian in a permanent, quote, balance of power, Catherine sought to unite Christians in a common cause to drive the Turks out of Europe. The Ottomans still ruled a large part of Europe, including Greece and the Balkan nations of Bulgaria, Romania, Serbia, Albania, Moldova, Kosovo, and Macedonia. Catherine's plan was to liberate these Christian lands from Muslim rule. She sought to restore the Byzantine Empire under the Greek Orthodox faith. Her grandson, Constantine, would be crowned Byzantine emperor. His capital would be in Constantinople, which Russians affectionately called Tsargrad, city of Caesar. Catherine called this her Greek plan, Греческий project,
Mhm.
the Greek project. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Russia's Byzantine roots. Catherine's nostalgia for the Byzantine Empire had deep roots in Russian history. It was the Byzantines who had Christianized Russia during the Dark Ages and invented an alphabet for the illiterate Slavs. The friendship between Greek and Slav never faded. Prior to 988 AD, the Eastern Slavs, ancestors of the Russians, Ukrainians, and the Belarusians, were pagans, worshipping the old Slavic gods. Vladimir the Great, the Grand Duke of Kiev, converted to Christianity in 988, embracing the Eastern Orthodox faith of the Byzantine Greeks. Byzantine missionaries devised an alphabet for the Slavs based on the Greek alphabet and the basis of today's Cyrillic writing system. When Constantinople fell to the Turks in 1453, many Byzantines fled to Russia, where they were warmly welcomed. The Grand Prince of Moscow, Ivan III, married the Byzantine princess Sophia Paleologa,
Yeah.
niece of the last Byzantine emperor.
Yeah.
Very similar to that other name that we
It's probably related to this
yeah,
person.
right. Her uncle, the Emperor Constantine the 11th, is that right?
Uh,
Paleologos
yeah.
had died fighting the Turks in the streets of Constantinople.
Oh, sorry.
In honor of the fallen Byzantine Empire, Ivan adopted the Byzantine double-headed eagle as Russia's coat of arms. He gave himself the title Tsar, meaning Caesar, and declared Moscow the third Rome, successor of the second Rome, Constantinople, now in Turkish hands. Thus was the Russian Empire born, like a phoenix from the ashes of Constantinople. For these reasons, a bond has long existed between, second, Russia and Greece. The Russians looked to Byzantium as their spiritual ancestor, while the Greeks looked to Russia as savior and protector. Why England opposed the Greek plan? Catherine hoped that her so-called Greek plan would appeal to Christian rulers, be they Catholic or Orthodox. She secretly proposed it to the Holy Roman Emperor Joseph II in 1780. You know, we've heard all these names, by the way,
Yeah, of course.
in Rabbi Antelman's book.
Yeah, yeah.
And this guy, Emperor Joseph II, this guy was like probably one of the primary funders of the Illuminati, you know, like.
Yeah.
However, the British had other ideas. They soon learned of Catherine's plan and resolved to stop
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
The British understood that Catherine's new Byzantine Empire would be a faithful ally of Russia, sharing the same Orthodox faith. It would completely replace the old Ottoman Empire, tipping the power balance in Russia's favor. In that event, the British would no longer be able to play off Turks against Russians, Muslims against Christians. They would face a united front of Orthodox Christians guarding the gateways to the east. Even worse for the British, Catherine's new Byzantine Empire would open the Dardanelles to Russia, giving Russian warships access to the Mediterranean. Britain would lose control of the Mediterranean and the trade routes to the east. For these reasons, the British resolved to defeat Catherine's plan. I guess we could stop here.
Yeah.
So we'll restart next time, folks. Chapter 6, Dominion of the World.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
Again,
Uh,
we're just for those who, here's the title of the book.
yeah. My cat is going insane. I don't know what to do with him. I
What do you
gave him
mean?
food. I
How's
gave
he
him
going
food.
insane?
I gave him food. I cleaned his explain to me. I've been meant to understand that if you need to clean their litter box. I did that. He wants to go outside again. It's 11:40. You're not going outside. No outside. Hey,
It's 11:40. Do you know where your cat is?
exactly. I know. Yeah, but he's going crazy. Meowing nonstop.
Should I read a little bit of this book?
Yeah, please.
Okay, folks. This book was written by somebody named Yisrael Cohen.
Oh, interesting.
It's called Giants and Fallen Angels, according to Chazal.
Interesting.
So this book was written by an Orthodox Jew,
Yeah.
and Chazal is a word that we use. It's an acronym.
Mm-hmm.
It stands for the Chachamim Zecher LeBrocha.
Yeah.
Our wise, our sages of blessed memory.
Yeah.
That's that's what Orthodox Jews refer to as the rabbis from previous generations, especially those mentioned in the Talmud.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is strictly Jewish
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jewish sources, Jewish perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, part one. Let's see. Acknowledgements. I'll skip the intro. I'll just go straight to part one. Skip the acknowledgements. Maybe I should read the introduction. Non-objective.
Mm.
The objective of this book is not to simply re-examine the allegory of the antediluvian fallen angel. This work has been done by countless scholars and academics far more educated than I. Having extensively researched and explored the many facets of this gigantic topic, they have ultimately succeeded in leaving no stone unturned. Yet what remains underexplored is the rabbinic tradition on this matter. The reason for the absence of scholarship in this particular area is simple. The written tradition does not really exist. Our main goal will therefore be to uncover remnants of the ancient myth in rabbinic traditions. We will attempt to discover the rabbinic tradition on two seemingly conflicting levels, namely how they propagated it while simultaneously suppressing it. We will discuss the story's substantial impact on understanding other biblical passages and midrashim, hopefully, we will successfully reveal a layer of interpretation often not explored. In addition, we will attempt to demonstrate how the myth is interwoven across many different segments that eventually come together as a complete picture. In the book of Genesis, two verses set the landscape for the oncoming colossal flood. As a direct, two verses, Genesis uh, chapter 6, verses 1 through 4, actually, he writes. As a, as a direct result of the complete moral breakdown of human behavior, God sent a flood to destroy mankind and all living creatures. This act was more than just a mere punishment, it was a termination of all that existed. Their very essence conflicted with the fiber of morality, and nothing was salvageable. What did the earthlings do to arouse God's ire? The answer can be found in the story of the Nephilim. And the sons of God saw the daughters of man. And afterward, I'm sorry, and they were beautiful. And so they took for their wives whomever they pleased. Those are straight verses from Genesis, right? And then it continues, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days. And afterward, when the sons of God came to the daughters of man, and they bore children to them, they were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Okay? Those are the verses. So the Nephilim were a classification of people understood to be the progeny of the fallen angels, sons of God, that eventually produced the mighty giants. These terms are often used interchangeably depending on the context. Nephilim minayin. These two verses comprise the entire Nephilim story as recorded in the Torah. It is important to note that the text does not explicitly describe the Nephilim nor give the reader any details as to how they came into being. They were just there. Undoubtedly, this ambiguity is inherently a part of the development of the Nephilim legend. In these texts, one essential point is that this verse coupling was damning. The intermittent verse states, and God said, my spirit will not remain in humankind forever, since he is indeed flesh, and his days will be 120 years. This book will examine the lore and how various rabbis viewed it during different periods. Hopefully, we shall gain insight into how they reflected on the myth's obscure passages, and additionally, how throughout the ages, every generation understood and applied these radical ideas. Wow, this is a much longer introduction than I expected.
Yeah.
Let me just skip ahead. Let's see. Here's another introduction. Stories of fallen angels and gigantic humans have mystified mankind for millennia. Scholars and laymen alike have grappled to understand how these massive beings appeared on Earth and what made them disappear. Those looking to view these stories as factual have had no shortage of possibilities. In the writings of Chazal, one finds many realistic depictions of a gigantic race that preceded the flood. It would be difficult for even the greatest skeptic to dismiss everything that is said on this matter simply as fable or allegorical. Yet conversely, even the greatest believer and literalist would have to agree that the factual events surrounding the giants have mythical layers. Indeed, in biblical times, the Nephilim were viewed as an ancient race. You know what? Maybe I can go through this book over time
Yeah.
and highlight.
Yeah.
We won't read the whole book
Yeah.
unless you want to, unless you feel differently about it. Unless, you know what? maybe we shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't read the whole book until or unless you buy it yourself, and we could take turns
Yeah.
reading it.
Yeah. No, had I known you bought it, I would have bought it. No.
Actually, it was our mutual friend who who
Hmm.
who told me about it.
Who, Eric?
Yeah,
Nice.
I gotta admit, I don't like the style of the writer
Hmm. Well,
so
he's
far.
he's a very
He's trying to stay separate from it.
yeah, he's a very yeshivish guy. I mean, he's very
He's a
I
yeshivish guy, but he's not yeshivish already. He's already trying to make it seem like
yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like he's like just an objective scholar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of. I
Well, the
don't
thing
like
is,
the
in order to not be dismissed when you're talking about things like this, that's kind of what people do, unfortunately. Because when you're tackling, for example, this subject, when you're tackling the subject of UAPs, anything of the sort, um, a lot of people just like, I don't know, it just seems like a lot of people in the Torah world are very like, they see these things as like fringe topics, you know?
why to write a book about it then? It's odd.
Listen, he's interested in it, I guess.
Look, he says this is what he could just write. This is
Yeah.
what our rabbis and the
Yeah,
scholars
yeah,
that we inherit the Torah from.
yeah,
This is what they thought,
yeah,
and just leave it at that. Why do you have to
yeah, no, yeah.
why do you got to be all hoity-toity about it?
Because they have to be hoity-toity.
I hate that. I hate it.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. I'll still read the book, and
Listen,
I'll
at the end of the day, man, it's like I've been thinking a lot about this. Um, I think I want to say this very delicately without, not insulting anybody, without like dismissing anybody. I think that the Orthodox Jewish Torah world, uh, they have such a very um strong lineage of learning, like going back to whenever it goes back to, right? But it's not only a lineage of learning, it's a lineage of culture, it's a lineage of like just how what I file under the category of how stuff is done, how we do things. And so when you have that, sometimes you can fall into the trap of thinking that anything that is, for example, this topic, even though it's literally like, I don't know, some of the first lines of the first chapters of the Torah, but delving deeper into this is already like, that weird guy who can't, who's not going to get a shidduch, so to speak, like that weird guy who's not going to be set up in dating or whatever, right? And it's like everything is like stigmatized, in the Orthodox world. And I think that one of the things that we could see is when these things make their appearance finally, the things that you and I have been talking about. For example, I was watching this video today that I sent in the group about, the stuff with the World Cup and like priming people for revealing. And one of the things these guys said is religion is going to change. No, it's not that religion is going to change, or meaning the Torah is not going to change per se. It's that whatever
at all.
at all. But what I'm saying is like whatever the Orthodox Jewish establishment thought, or however they thought that they're going to like operate, is not exactly, they haven't cornered the market on that. They're going to come to realize that they haven't cornered the market on that, and that other people are included in whom they may not have thought would be included in the Torah world are included in the Torah world. People who look like more like me and you, right? Look and sound
Which
and
actually nowadays most people in the Orthodox world look like me and you.
not only look like, but think and talk and you know what I'm saying? Oh,
Yeah.
there goes my friend. Not supposed to go on the table. Thank you very much. Uh, you know, um, they're gonna come to find out that again, I don't want to sound like whatever. I'm attacking anybody, but sometimes it's like, I remember when I first became religious, right? People would be like, I had friends would be like, they would say, I'm like the weird one, or I'm like the out of the box, right? And to me, it's like these guys are out of the box, meaning they're the weird ones. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna come to find out that they're out of the box, so to speak. That you and I are normal for even broaching the subject, and they,
Folks, the subject being, sorry to interrupt you, the
yeah,
subject being uh, asking questions as to how did we get here?
yeah,
What is our purpose? Who created us?
yeah,
What's it all for? How we should spend, what's the best use of our time here?
yeah,
Things that very few people ask themselves.
yeah. Including, by the way, unfortunately, a lot of people in the Orthodox world who grew up Orthodox, who grew up Torah observant, because, like,
Just cult, yeah, they're just cultural, right?
or even if they're not just cultural, they genuinely do believe in God, and they believe the Torah is real. They believe that God is real. But it's funny, like I asked some of them, I said to them, kind of as a half joke, I was like, if you weren't raised religious, would you become it? You know? And some of them answered me. They're like, I don't know. I don't know that I would. And I'm like, and then I told them the thing kind of you told me. I said, well, how do you know Hashem wouldn't choose you, so to speak? How do you know Hashem wouldn't pull you in his direction if you hadn't, right? But not everybody even has that merit. Look at 80% of the Jewish world, you know? So okay, people are coming back slowly here and there to tradition, but most people are not Shomer Shabbat or any of it, right? Unfortunately. Um,
You
so
know,
yeah, yeah.
it's funny. Like I had our mutual friend here, right?
Yeah,
He lives in a Chabad community,
yeah,
and he's even doing a Chabad Samicha program
yeah,
where you
yeah,
become a rabbi. But he's not Chabad himself, and he's
yeah,
somewhat averse to it because he got snagged out
yeah,
before he moved here.
yeah, yeah.
Like that whole
Well,
like
he and I did the same program. Yeah,
yeah, that the rage
yeah,
scene,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Snagged out. That's
So
funny.
so I said to him, look, you have to experience something. I'm not forcing him to become Chabad or anything of that nature. I'm just
Yeah,
saying like you have to at least go to a couple of Farbrengens, like
yeah,
one or two real Farbrengens,
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
a Farbrengen is a Hasidic custom
yeah.
where it's whatever. Okay. So I organized one with our study group.
Nice.
Me and our mutual friend, we have a little study group on Wednesdays, right?
Yeah,
So, and we did the Farbrengen, and he liked it. But during that Farbrengen, we had a discussion about like how because it was about intros. We got to get to know each other a little bit, and kind of like reveal our spiritual journey to each other.
yeah. Very
And
cool.
I said like when it was my turn. I said something out loud that I guess I was conscious of, but I was never fully conscious of it, and it surprised me,
Yeah,
which was that how different my experience was to my brother's.
yeah,
My brother was like, all right, let me start with mine first, and then
yeah,
so I can
yeah,
contrast.
yeah,
I would say my brother's was more conventional
yeah,
experience
yeah,
of when a non-religious Jew is inspired to become observant and religious. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
so let me start with mine. I was at some doctor's office or a dentist's office. I don't even remember. I'm starting to lose that memory. Somewhere in 1994, I think it was a
Hmm.
doctor's office, and I was in the waiting room, and I saw a couple of old magazines. The issues were from a couple of years before that, like in the 80s,
Yeah.
88, 89, something like that. I think it was Popular Science, and they did an article on Torah codes.
Yeah.
And they had these photographs and they had these discussions between what I thought were rabbis and academic mathematicians. I later discovered that the people who I thought were rabbis were also mathematicians and computer scientists and statisticians and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, they were talking about Torah codes and they were discovering all this amazing stuff, all these events and people who existed
Hmm.
encoded in the Torah text. So I saw many examples of that kind of stuff. And then I started, and that led me to learn traditional Torah codes, which have always been taught things related to the subject of gematria, right? And of other coded information within the text of what people who speak English would call the Hebrew scripture. That does not
Yeah.
include the New Testament at all.
Yeah.
The just original Hebrew scripture. Okay. So um, after several years of looking at that material and seeing that, I came to the conclusion that I could no longer tell myself that this document could have possibly been written by human beings. I was convinced and still am to this day that it was could have only been written by the creator of existence, who was not bound by the existence, by the creation, or by time and space or anything of that nature, right? So that was my approach to becoming an observant Jew. That's how I got pulled into it. That's how okay. So it was that kind, it was, and I discovered later that this is not a very common occurrence. This is not how
No.
most Orthodox Jews
Yeah.
become observant.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not.
Some Orthodox Jews, when they become observant, they discover some of the stuff
Yeah.
in the course of their studies, but that's not how they were brought in.
Yeah.
Okay. Like my brother and most other Jews who come from non-religious families and then become observant, their approach was inspired by people that they met.
Yeah.
And they were inspired by these great people.
Hmm.
Okay. Like my brother, I think his first inspiration was Rabbi David Aaron of
Oh, really?
Jerusalem.
It wasn't on campus, on his campus?
No, it was in
Oh.
Israel
Oh.
by Rabbi David Aaron of the Israelite
Yeah.
program.
Yeah, I know
Okay.
yeah. They took us to
Yeah.
hear
So
him.
it was spending Shabbos there with
Nice.
him that, my brother just felt it was
Yeah.
whatever, it was emotional, it was spiritual, however you call it. And he was very impressed with the family structure, how
Yeah.
everybody, you know, he was very enamored with it and he was inspired by these people.
Yeah.
Okay. Subsequently to that, in the course of his studies, he did encounter a lot of the stuff that I was talking about. But I would say that I was never inspired by anybody that I met. I just
Yeah.
wasn't that taken with anybody that I
Yeah.
had met. I haven't had such wonderful experiences.
Yeah.
I have not met my Mr. Miyagi the entire time. The only if I'm being 100% honest, and
Hmm.
here's something, and I can't even explain why, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, I have felt things that I don't understand. It was just purely very, very subconscious, right? I
Yeah.
felt extremely taken by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who I never
Yeah.
met,
Yeah.
but I saw his photographs and I
Yeah.
hear about the way people felt about him
Yeah.
and the stories
Yeah.
of living people and their experiences with him, right?
Yeah.
Both religious Jews and non-religious Jews, both
Yeah.
Jews and non-Jews,
Yeah.
their experiences with him.
Yeah.
And the overwhelming amount of people and their testimony,
Hmm.
right, have uh, in a similar way that I
Hmm.
made the determination that the Torah
Hmm.
was actually written by God, I also, based on the hundreds and hundreds of stories from people from every walk of life and their interaction with the Rebbe gave me this sense of who he was. Okay?
Yeah.
So anybody who I was ever kind of had a positive kind of experience with in the Orthodox Jewish world
No.
was primarily was because of their connection to the Lubavitcher Rebbe and how
Sure.
he affected them.
Sure.
Okay, that's the only time I ever liked or was kind of inspired by any Orthodox rabbi or Jews that I've ever spoken to. It's when they were talking about the Rebbe.
Interesting.
And aside from that, maybe a small handful of individuals in various like isolated moments
Yeah.
that I was kind of
Well, the same thing. Isolated moments.
isolated
Yeah.
moments here and there,
Yeah.
okay, of people who were kind of not necessarily directly,
Yeah.
connected to the Lubavitcher Rebbe.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say that one of those people who is not necessarily directly consciously connected to the Lubavitcher Rebbe was Rabbi Mendel Kesset. He had a huge
Yeah. Yeah.
influence on me
Yeah.
because he was focused on Mashiach,
Yeah. It still
right?
is. Yeah.
You know, his teaching was very goal oriented,
Mm-hmm.
meaning oriented in the goal of God,
Yeah.
which is not about just living a
Yeah.
moral life and being good and getting married and just being
No.
a good boy, a good worth.
I
No,
never resonated with that with
right.
the the self-help Torah stuff.
Yeah, right. Rabbi Kess was like, no, no,
Very
Mashiach, here's
rampant.
how we
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Okay. He's almost a Lubavitcher. He just,
Yeah. Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and his
Listen,
name's Mendel.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever.
It's funny.
Okay. So when you're listening to me, you're
Yeah.
not hearing from the conventional kind of
Mm-hmm.
Baal Teshuva guy
Yeah.
who, okay. And and my journey in the religious world kind of reflects that because
Mm-hmm.
I was essentially thrown out of most of these yeshivas that I was in, like after high
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
fit in
Yeah.
with the kind of people
Yeah.
that because I was independently religious.
Yeah.
I didn't have I wasn't like the people like a lot of times when this is probably true in other religions too or whatever, right?
Yeah.
When a person becomes like
Mm.
observant or a convert or something like that,
Yeah.
they create an attachment.
They have mentorship. They have organizations. This,
They
that.
have
Yeah.
right, they have like a mentor. They're very, very attached to a spiritual leader who
Huh.
guides them through. I
Yeah.
was too independent minded
Yeah.
to be
I'm the same
welcomed
way.
and regarded and felt
Yeah.
comfortable with in that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I came, I was like, I guess I didn't have this outward attitude, but
Yeah.
I was like, I don't really need
Yeah.
you as a
Yeah.
human being
Yeah.
to you know to be I know the Torah is real without you. Like
Yeah.
I'm here by, you know what I mean? And people
Yeah.
felt that about me and they uncomfortable with that. That's not
Yeah.
their usual thing.
Yeah. They need somebody to follow them.
They need, yeah, you know what I mean?
Also, I felt like I was just I was thinking this today. It's like me and a mutual friend of friend Jacob, a mutual friend with Eric. We talk about let's say today, right? We're both like in our 40s, and we show up to one of these lectures, some event, like one of these like organizations, and the rabbi's speaking. The rabbi's like our age, at this point. So he goes, "What am I?"
Younger, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "What am I gonna do? Show up? I'm gonna be like a Oh, hi, I'm a sausage. It's like just no, like a piece of meat, like a bag of meat sitting there who's not supposed to be there. Yes, he's hi, yes, he's like it's like
Yeah.
and I followed that up with I'm like, yeah, Jacob, we should be the rabbis. Meaning we should or not the rabbis, but we should be the ones doing something, teaching,
We
mentoring, whatever it is.
we really should. I come to the
And
conclusion like
yeah,
I think we probably have to
yeah,
do
do
it.
the smicha thing, yeah. But apart from that, even I just remember like meeting some of the rabbis when I first went to yeshiva, and I thought my first thought was like, these guys know Torah. They do know Torah. They know a lot of Torah. But I, pardon my language. Apart from Torah, they don't know shit. That was my thought process. They don't know.
They
They don't know life.
they memorized
Yeah,
the floppy disk with all
yeah,
the
yeah.
what's the wording that we used earlier? Uh the
Compressed,
no,
whatever.
the portable civilization of
Yeah, 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 yeah.
words.
Yeah.
So they memorized like the book.
Even the ones I met in Israel, yeah, they memorized stuff.
You know, like the book.
Yeah,
I have the book
yeah.
somewhere. I ordered it where
No, yeah,
it's not the Jewish book. I
yeah,
forgot what it's called, but it's like how to rebuild
yeah,
civilization
yeah,
after the
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
so they memorize the book,
Yeah.
but they don't necessarily have ever practiced the techniques of of the actual building.
No,
They memorize the instructions,
I'll say
but
to you like this.
to actually practice them is different.
They read because it's not only law halacha. They you could tell by interacting with them and talking to some of them, they have internalized the what's called the not philosophical, but like you could tell like they've learned the lessons on how to be like kind of a like to work on your character traits, all that kind of stuff, right? They've learned that and they've worked on that. And it's good. But a guy like me comes to them, one of them, and says, "Hey, you know, uh, tells them my whole story about how I used to be like a DJ in clubs, right? And how, I had this, and I start if I were to start telling these guys a story about how when I went to clubs, I went not to pick up women necessarily. That wasn't the primary thing. I went to have a religious experience, a spiritual experience via
Yeah,
like what you and I spoke about, the whole like repetitive nature of house music, dance music, and you get into this.
it's like yeah,
It's
it's
like a
you get
state.
into
You get into a
state of
state. Yeah.
consciousness. Yeah,
And there was probably out of maybe like one or two rabbis, one and a half rabbis that I've met who I could even have this conversation with. And so now we take to the next level. What can they tell me? What can they, how can they help me to like redirect or apply this, whatever it is that I experienced, to what is considered today the practice of Orthodox Judaism? Meaning, I had to figure whatever I just described to you, I had to figure this out on my own over the last 12 years. I don't know if I figured it out. I'm closer maybe now than I was. Uh, but nobody could guide me. That's something that doesn't even it doesn't even yeah, like I sometimes like ask Hashem about it, I don't know if I got an answer, but I ask him like, you've created something or you put me in a situation to which there is no um literature out there. You know what I mean? There's no manual for this. There's a manual for, I don't know, a guy who works in the financial world and he's like this and he's like that and there's no manual for this stuff, man. We're just floating at sea.
yeah.
And and I look at some of these rabbis and I say to myself, listen, I mean, part of it is not their fault. They didn't, I can't expect everybody to have the same life experience as me. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, like you can't ask a guy, even a guy who's like 22 years old, who spent his life, you know, he was in school and then he went to college and he experienced it, the whole like the dorm life and the college parties. It's one of those things where the rabbis are not going to come down to our level. We have to go up to theirs. They're literally not going to come down to our level. Even if you want to say they're going to be like campus rabbis, they're not coming down to our level. It's just not happening. It's just not going to happen because they can't by definition. And so they don't know what the hell we're talking about. If we're coming to them for advice, If I come to a rabbi for advice, like if I were to come to one of my rabbis from yeshiva for advice at the age of 31 and say to the guy, "Hey, Rabbi, I agree with Shoman Agia, but I can't do it. You know why? Because I did whatever the hell I wanted for the last 10, 15 years, 10 years, and now I can't turn off the so-called spigot. What would you advise me to do?" The advice was get married as soon as possible. Short of that, what would you advise me to do? No answer.
There's no other advice.
Blank. Answer is
Okay, but
blank.
the truth is there is no.
I
I
no
mean,
no no. What I mean is like you can't just like I'm not gonna walk on the streets of Jerusalem just pick a woman, any woman, right? So we live in reality. We live in reality. My point is, men live in reality. It would have been one thing if I would like 21-year-old guy who had literally almost no experience with women. Okay, now you could do. No, it was a 31-year-old guy. So what I'm saying is I had not met. Maybe there is a rabbi like that who could have you know, stop me from going insane. But there wasn't.
yeah, look, unfortunately, yeah. I mean, we have to become what we needed and didn't have.
Yeah, yeah.
We have to become that for others.
I know. I know. No, that's I agree.
I'll give you an example. I met a Jewish guy who's married to a Chinese lady. Okay,
Yeah.
I chatted with him a little bit, and you know, I asked myself, like, does God orchestrated his life, and he's 60 years old, and he, he's married to who he's married to. Does he want me? Does he really want this guy to divorce his wife and become a fully observant Jew? I don't know, but I don't know if it's my job
Yeah.
to try to make him do that.
The guy's a
But
Tinoch Nishba. He's
no,
a yeah, he's a
that's what I'm
Jews
saying.
raised by Goyim.
But check it out. In the course of our discussions, he
Yeah.
found a couple of Torah concepts very interesting. We had a discussion about King Solomon, right?
Yeah.
And what he was trying to accomplish and who he really was and what all those marriages to those women were about. He was fascinated by that, fascinated. So,
Mm.
so what I do know that God wants me to do is talk to him about these Torah topics and connect him to something Jewish. He might even be interested in putting on tefillin.
Yeah.
Maybe that's maybe that's what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I
Maybe
mean?
that's
Like,
all he's supposed to do. Yeah.
yeah, we
Yeah.
don't know what
Yeah.
a person was sent here to do.
I was
We
just
know
thinking
that
about
we're
that
not,
the other day. Yeah.
we know that we're not supposed to, yeah,
Yeah.
we want ideal for everybody and we
Yeah.
want to, like all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
But, realistically speaking, when you're dealing with human beings, right,
Yeah.
and you're dealing with like, God himself put this
Yeah.
person in my path,
In this situation. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
60-year-old man who
Yeah.
was married for many years to a really nice Chinese lady, right? And and am I supposed to think that God really wants me to to push this guy to become
Yeah.
the ideal religious Jew and
Yeah.
disrupt his entire world and all this
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so,
No.
is my point. The answer is probably not.
Yeah.
But God might want him to learn a little bit of Torah and maybe put on tefillin, right?
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. What I think a lot of people don't understand is that that's extremely important. Where
Yeah.
getting a guy to become fully religious and all this kind of stuff and put on the whole
Yeah.
getup and everything like that, right? That was like that seemed to be like the goal of certain very
Oh yeah,
aggressive
of course.
people. But
Yeah.
that's actually retarded.
It is.
Okay, a
It
single
is.
getting any Jew to step
Yeah.
forward
Yeah.
towards some observance, towards some connection with God, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that is on that particular guy's level, right, is the goal.
Yeah.
Okay, like we talked about this earlier. Teshuvah. What does
Yeah.
teshuvah mean, right? To the average Orthodox Jewish, it means, oh, the guy he's wearing the full thing with the shtreimel. He
Yeah.
he he gets rid of his
Yeah.
non-Jewish
Yeah. Yeah.
everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Listen,
he
there's a yeshiva in Israel for guys like us. At some point the rabbis literally come to guys. This is a fact, and they say, "So, when are you putting on a black hat?"
Yeah,
And
that's
if you say you're not going to, they don't say, "Oh, okay, that's fine." Maybe they name another institute. Maybe that institution is for you.
yeah,
they're not so no, they're serious, but they're not so like pushy about the black hat stuff.
yeah. I know. So
Dude,
there's a lot of like retarded
it's
crap.
called parochialism is
Look,
the word you're looking
I
for.
just want to,
Hmm,
just as just
hmm,
slightly defend some of our
hmm,
Orthodox Jewish dummies, right? From the past.
hmm,
This is a very new thing
yeah,
to the Orthodox Jewish world. Dealing with large numbers or significant numbers of people who are coming back
yeah,
from, to religious life from secular families, sometimes multi-generational secular family, was a was something that was essentially unheard of before the mid to late 60s.
yeah,
That's so recent,
yeah. The Kirov
right?
movement, yeah,
The Kiruv movement, right?
yeah.
That this whole thing is this whole thing is still being built,
They themselves are still like kind of figuring it
right?
out,
It's
even
like
though they think they figured it out.
right. It's not like we had an already set up
No,
system on how to process
no,
people like that. It's trial and error
yeah,
since like the 70s, early
yeah,
70s.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So a lot of mistakes have been made, a
yeah,
lot.
big time.
Okay. And we've been through a lot of those mistakes.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
So the mistakes are the mistakes of imperfect people,
Yeah.
okay, who are trying to present the perfect Torah
I
to
was just
other imperfect
you know
people.
what the funniest thing I was just talking to a guy today who grew up religious, and he is of the opinion he's against he's not against people making aliyah, but he's very against the way that the government, obviously you and I are also in agreement with that, the way the government is in Israel.
What
So
that
uh,
just I'm sorry to stop you. I
yeah,
know it's very annoying, but I always when people hear what you're saying, right?
yeah, yeah,
Based on the way,
yeah.
things are online, they're going to think that we're criticizing the Israeli government for how they handled Gaza.
No,
No,
we're
no.
against how the
We're mad.
government,
We're mad that they didn't nuke Gaza.
that we're mad that they don't
That's
do
the problem
things
we have.
enough according to Torah. We're mad about that.
Right.
So, and I told this guy who grew up religious, like he grew up like, what you call Litvak, whatever you call it, right? I said to him, you know what's funny to me? Oh, this cat is going crazy. What's funny to me is that, when you go to Israel, and then so you have these rabbis who, like American rabbis who teach in yeshivas in Israel. Some of them live in Israel, or they moved to Israel. And their whole thing is like, oh, if you're gonna, you know, if you're interested in Torah, you should come to Israel. It's better to come to Israel to learn Torah in Israel for like a year or even 2 years, right? They don't necessarily push making aliyah, right? Why don't they do that? Because two reasons. Why they don't want to like scare the parents. The it could be Russian parents, American parents who live in America. Also, they don't necessarily like aliyah pushers, even though they themselves made aliyah. So I said to this guy, I'm like, what's funny, man? You're talking to me about because this guy is very much like he's of the opinion that we're not supposed to, it's called we're not supposed to go up like a wall. The Jewish people were not supposed to en masse make aliyah, and it's like this whole thing. That's his stance, right? Even though he's not against Jewish people living in Israel as individuals, but we were supposed to go en masse. So he and I had this whole back and forth. I said, whatever, my stance. But I said to him, I'm like, well, it's funny you're saying all this because, like, to me, as a guy who came to all of this at the age of 31, I don't see a separation between Israel and Judaism. Like, I don't see like a problem. To me, it's all one thing, right? Because I'm a neophyte. I'm a noob, right? I don't know about this history of I didn't. Now I do. About like these rabbis who put this other rabbi in excommunication for, giving validity to secular Jew, whatever, all this whole story, right?
Yeah.
Rav Kook and all this stuff. To me, it was just like, okay, there's like houses of study in Israel, in Jerusalem. By the way, which would not be there if it wasn't for the Six-Day War and the IDF, granted, God helped them to do so, to beat back the Arabs away from the old city and take back the old city, just so yeshivas could be there. So I wanted to tell the guy, I'm like, you're sitting here crapping on what the government is and the existence of the government and this and that and the other. It's a little bit of a weird take, man, given that your cousins are like rabbis in these yeshivas in the old city. And then we have the Kotel now. We have the Western Wall. We have access to it. Why? Because we beat the crap out of those guys, or partially did, right?
Yeah.
So it's like this whole very, very inconvenient thing for him.
Just a second. Look,
Yeah,
I fully agree with what you're saying, but
yeah.
we have to also discuss how retarded those same people who won
Of
the city
course. No, of course.
are
I
because
know.
they gave it back
I know, but
and they didn't take the
I
Temple
know.
Mount.
What I'm saying is imagine you're a Russian-speaking Jew like my father, right? 1994. You land in Israel, and the first thing you do is you kiss the ground. You're not a religious Jew. You kiss the ground. So my father did. So the first thing I
Yeah,
saw him do, it was a tower air. When you come out on the tarmac, it
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
like a thing. And that was the first thing. This is like my first memory of Israel, is seeing my father kiss the ground.
I did that too.
Yeah,
First
but
time.
I didn't even know why he was doing it. But and then in a second I realized why. Right. So for me, it was like you could take all this hashkafa stuff and throw it out the window because there's Israel, there's Torah, and the thing is together,
Yeah, it
and
is.
and that's it, and that's it. That's the end of the discussion here.
Listen,
Yeah,
I look, I said earlier
yeah,
that I never had personal inspirational experiences with
yeah,
that's not how I came to it, right?
yeah.
It but I have been like my thought process has been influenced by certain rabbis, right? That I listen to, that I enjoy the way they explain Torah concepts, right? The same Torah concepts, but I like the way that they express them. One of these rabbis is Rabbi Manis Friedman. I find myself agreeing regularly with with things that he says. Again, personal, I have no interaction with him. I've never spoken to him. I've spoken with Rabbi Kessin. I got the a chance to speak to Rabbi Kessin. I found that to be a positive experience.
Yeah.
Um, but I am very trepidatious. Is that the word? With I proceed
You're
in
full of tradition.
which with trepidation with anybody that I kind of like or respect from a
Yeah.
distance.
It's called never meet your idols, something like that.
They're not my
Not
idols.
idols, but you know what I mean. Never meet
Yeah,
your
don't meet your heroes, don't meet
yeah.
your idols. Because it's been good so far.
Yeah,
Them not knowing who I am, and me
yeah,
listening to stuff
yeah,
and having a positive experiencing, learning and that kind of stuff, right?
yeah,
Connecting on the thought level,
yeah.
right? Which might be good enough.
That's enough. As we say, yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. Some people probably argue with me,
yeah.
but sorry for that whole preface. I just wanted to say,
Frank just had fireworks behind them for some
oh yeah,
reason.
look at that. Sorry for that whole preface,
Yeah.
but I wanted to say something that Rabbi Manis Friedman said. One of the things in which I agree. I I don't say I agree with everything. There occasionally I have very strong disagreements with what he says. Except, but I really agree with the controversial thing that he said about God needing. I
Yeah.
really agree. I
Yeah.
don't want people to think that
Yeah.
for those who have
Mm.
some familiarity with whatever
Mhm.
controversy there is, I fully agree with him on the thing that it's most controversial.
Yeah.
But other stuff, I think he's too easy on God.
Yeah.
That's my problem with him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He likes God too much. You know, I know that's a weird thing to say, but whatever,
Yeah.
I feel like, if we had an Aaron of modern
Yeah.
like he's kind of like the Aaron,
Yeah.
Moses' brother
Yeah.
of our time. I would
Yeah.
if I had to give him like a title, okay?
Yeah.
He's like the peacemaker. He's
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
if there's folks, and most Orthodox Jews or anybody with a classical Torah education knows that Aaron was known as the peacemaker.
Yeah.
And his thing was to make peace, especially between husbands and wives who were arguing.
Yeah.
Right? That was his thing. He always wanted to make peace so I feel like Manus Friedman is trying to do that for people who say have a hard time with God.
Yeah.
Um, so here's what he said. And all that was a very long-winded way of responding to something that you said, Greg, just now. I don't know why I keep getting thumbs up. I'm just moving my
Yeah, I
hand.
don't know. This is like a weird situation. I think the Ching Chang Chong is sitting somewhere. Oh, you get thumbed up.
It's kind of cool, I
Give
think.
him thumb up.
So
You get a
here's what he
thumb
said.
up.
So here's what he said. He said he's talking to people. He said, "Don't be religious.
Yeah.
Just just do mitzvahs.
Yeah.
Don't become religious. Don't be religious. Don't
Yeah.
become
Yeah.
just do mitzvahs.
Yeah.
Just do. You don't have to become religious. You
Yeah.
don't have to put on the getup.
Yeah.
Just do mitzvahs because God asked you to do just mitzvahs. Put on
Yeah.
tefillin because God asked you to do it. Don't do it because you're part of the religious community or something like that."
Yeah.
So that's what I feel like. That made sense to me because I kind of felt like that's how I unconsciously approached this whole observance thing,
Yeah.
right? I never felt really part of the cultural the cultural
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
Um,
feel you. We spoke about
so
this many times. Yeah.
so Greg, when give you a hard time about it. No.
What?
Let's go, with the я скажу по-русски. Цицис, кипа.
I went
Ты
to
начал?
yeah, no, I did. I went to a it was like a post bar mitzvah celebration in upstate New York, and I purposely like
That's interesting.
it was like one of these like cafes in like like Monticello, Fallsburg, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
No, so I put on like tzitzit, kippah, everything. But I looked very, like I looked like I just like landed from the spaceship Israel because I had a shirt. It was like this kind of, kind of like
No, no, я
beige
говорю,
pants. Oh,
я говорю именно когда ты сам дома. That's what I'm talking about.
kippah, yes, kippah, yes, yeah,
Tzitz is
yeah.
more important.
I know. I did it all the time. I did it all the time. You know what it is? I think what happened is last couple of years, I want to say, it started being in my head associated with, kind of like the guy I was trying to be. If that makes any sense, what I'm saying? Like the Balshuva guy who I was trying to be.
To hell with that guy. Just do it because God asked.
I know, I know, I know. I will. I am and I will continue. But at some point I was like, in my head, I was like, I can't do this fake it till make it thing. Because that's really what I was trying to do with it.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. Like you could say, oh,
Uh,
because it's God wants. Yeah, I know God wants it. I'm just saying, like for me, it was like I did it because like my cousin just brought me a pair when I was in yeshiva, and it was just like a thing to do in Israel, right? Like it's like these guys now, all these secular guys are wearing tzitzit with no kippah because it's like it's I mean it's like a not just a fad, it's more than a fad, but it's largely a fad. Everybody's getting excited about it, right?
I don't
So
know. It could be more. It could be like
it's more
the
than that.
post October 7th thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it is. It's more than just a fad. It's, but listen, I started wearing it. It's funny actually. There's a guy that we both know. I remember when I moved back to America and I was still wearing when I first moved back to America. It's like 10 years ago. He asked me like, what are these things about? And I got into the whole, gematria of the tzitzit itself and started explaining it to him. And like people ask questions when they see these things, right? It's a topic of conversation. It's a reason to speak about. So it's good. So I realized it was like something that I should do. But again, like whatever. I had my own personal challenges and my own personal, uh, like you said, Menace Friedman is not hard enough on God. I think I don't want to say I was retaliating against God, but I was just kind of like, again, I told you this, like, obviously I'm not doing mitzvahs expecting a reward, but I wasn't expecting the opposite either. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? No, like I wasn't expecting like being thrown into stuff. You know what I mean?
I could relate
So it's
because
yeah, so it's a little bit of a
like
whatever,
me,
frustration, lashing out, I guess you could say.
look at me. Just I'm
Okay.
just for a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah, yeah.
I became observant when I was 14, 15. My brother in his late 20s.
Yeah.
Um, my family has been devastated,
Yeah.
not just because my brother died and because my
Yeah.
uncle, but there's so many things that I've never mentioned about my family.
Yeah.
Uh, constant sickness, chronic
Yeah.
illnesses. My mother, my father,
Yeah.
my uncle lost
Yeah.
his grandson to
Yeah.
an overdose. Uh,
Yeah.
my my cousin has just chronic. It just seems like God has not blessed my family at all. In fact, it just seems like the opposite.
Same
Seems
here.
like
Yeah.
seems like he's destroyed my family.
Yeah, yeah, same. My
I
cousins,
don't even recognize my life
I
at
know, I
all.
know, I know, I know. Since I became
From
my cousins
anything,
have
yeah,
estranged themselves from my uncle. The other cousin became like whatever. I don't want to say what. Had some stuff with whatever. I told you, you know the stories. So
yeah.
it's just like my father's health, my mom dealing with that stuff, whatever. Like all, I don't know. Yeah, it's just
I
like,
know a guy who I'm not going to say his name,
yeah,
but when I first came to
yeah,
Florida,
yeah,
like by myself, like I was engaged to
yeah,
my wife and I was by myself, and he'd invite me over for Shabbos, and he was kind of like he's a convert, his whole family convert. He's
yeah,
a wealthy guy
yeah,
who's successful in business and all this
yeah,
kind of stuff.
yeah,
Shortly, and he had not that long before, maybe only a few years before that, become
yeah,
like he was my age. He's the age he's maybe a little bit older than I am now.
yeah.
He'd only become like he'd only convert him and his whole family converted maybe like 5 or 6 years prior to that. And by the and he since then he lost everything. Everything.
Dude.
But
So,
but
yeah,
check this out. Like
yeah,
he was renting a he had to move out of his like his mini mansion,
yeah.
right? In the very swanky area that
Is that
of
the
where
guy
he
with
was
all the
living.
guns or whatever?
Yeah.
Oh, that guy. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
But it's the strangest thing. Then he was renting a place. He moved to another neighborhood in
yeah.
some other part of Miami.
I remember we went to visit him or something.
Right.
We ran into him.
Right. He was like renting a place, struggling, trying to figure things out,
Yeah,
staying faithful.
yeah,
And here's like a miracle happened. Like he had a neighbor who they got close with
yeah,
in a very short period of time. It was actually an older lady, and she became so close with the family. And the lady herself, I don't think she had much family, or maybe she was estranged from them. She ended up she passed away, and she left the house. They found out later that she
yeah.
left the house for them.
Yeah, you told me
And
the
they didn't
story.
know what they were going to do. They didn't have any money. So they ended
Yeah,
up with like a home. So it's just like very strange,
yeah.
a very strange
And
experience.
that's the thing. You come to people and you tell them all the stuff, your stuff, let's say my stuff. Some of these rabbis had the audacity to tell me, I really recommend reading the book of Eov. I want to tell, I really recommend you take that book and hit yourself over the head with a mallet.
Dude, I'm telling you, I feel like AI would respond better
I know,
sometimes.
I know.
Like they're just
They tell us,
they
folks,
make
for the folks at home, they tell us to read the book of Job.
which intellectually you understand why they say that
Yeah, yeah,
because
of
Job
course,
had
because
the worst
they
thing
don't
possible.
have advice. They don't have
No,
advice.
no, because no, it's
No, these guys don't have advice. The ones I came to, no advice, zero,
no,
blank again.
because there's no better, there really is no
Yeah, yeah,
better
yeah, no
kind
better,
of
yeah,
like
yeah.
book or
Analog, yeah,
analog to consult than
yeah,
Job
yeah,
had,
yeah.
whatever, you know what I mean? So, but
But it's just,
it's just
yeah,
it's just a very like
And you know how many people I know who became religious and you talk to them and they say, I don't know, man. I don't know what you're talking about. Hashem did me a solid in every department of my life. Okay, cool, I
Look,
guess.
for
Good for
those
you.
who are lucky enough to
In
have that
the
kind of experience,
yeah,
I'm glad for them. You know what I
yeah, yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
But it just seems like there is this show called what was it called? Modern Family.
Yeah,
Remember Modern Family?
yeah,
I
yes,
was not a huge fan of the show at
yeah,
all,
yeah.
really. But my wife kind of liked the show, so I would watch. Sometimes I would watch with her. And there was this one episode of when they go to Australia. You ever seen that? Did you ever watch the show?
I don't watch it like I don't make it a point to watch it. I kind of caught it by happenstance kind of thing.
So anyway, the guy, the father of the primary family, not Ed Bundy, not Al Bundy,
Yeah.
uh, the younger guy, right? The guy who married his daughter,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? That
yeah,
actor. You can
yeah,
probably picture his face, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
I know
he's
the
like one
guy.
of these California guys, but he loves Australia. He was really excited about going back to Australia because
Hmm.
he was there and he had this he feels like connected to the place
Yeah,
and and all this kind of stuff. He feels spiritually connected to Australia. He's very
yeah,
taken with it.
yeah,
There are people like this.
yeah.
And they took a trip to Australia and nothing but disasters kept occurring for him in Australia. Like he got bitten by a bunch of poisonous stuff. He hurt himself climbing. Like everybody's having kind of like a nice time, but the
Hmm.
guy who really loved it or was looking forward to it was having like the worst time,
Yeah,
right? And then somebody said to him that Australia abuses its own.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
is what Australia does to those that are connected to it.
Yeah, that's funny.
And it kind of reminded me of my experience.
Yeah, but are we the only ones connected to it?
No, dude, we're not the only ones who
Yeah,
have gone through stuff like this.
yeah. I know, I
Okay.
know, I know. I was
Like
talking
my
to my
brother,
friend. I was talking
my
to my,
brother, two horrible marriages, and just like, you know, it's just
I was talking to my friend about, like speaking of marriages, like we were talking about how like sometimes a person, look at like a guy, like a man can have his marriage. It's really all mazal, right? So some people have like great marriages or great, they marry amazing people, and another guy can marry somebody and they could go like everything. He could do everything right and everything could go horribly, he could be treated like crap and whatever it is. And I said to him, I asked him a question about my situation, how I had to move back to America and I was for this lady and I was engaged to her and I didn't, I didn't do anything, let's say put it this way, I didn't do anything wrong, okay? And I took the right steps and whatever it was and then just got completely destroyed. So he was saying about other guys that other guys do stuff and it's like they're doing stuff that it's like stupid things. He said use the word dolbayovstva. I was like, listen, in my case it wasn't anything. I'm like, so how would you explain it? It's just I don't know, tikkun or a rectification or some kind of something. I don't know, mazal. How would you explain it? If a person does everything right, or at least nothing wrong, nothing bad, doesn't hurt anybody, doesn't mistreat anybody, and in fact gets mistreated, and it's like the person gets on a plane, drops his whole life, comes to, goes somewhere. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's done this, right? Goes here, there, and everywhere, and then gets crapped on, right? So it's like that's a mazal, I guess. That's something that's predetermined by Hashem, like a story. You know what I'm saying? Like it must be. I mean, there's no rational explanation for it.
look, it's tikkun. Okay, that's
Am
what
I?
it
Am I?
is. Like,
Unless I'm the biggest dumbass who ever lived. Maybe I am. Maybe I shouldn't have left Israel. I don't know. Maybe I should have been so rash. I'm stupid. Maybe I'm stupid. I don't know. I'm probably
I
stupid.
think you should seriously explore that possibility.
Thank
I only say that because I feel that way
you.
about most of the things that I do. No, because like you have to kind of
Yeah.
look at that.
But then again, when I was going through that, I felt like as if Hashem was literally the way everything was happening. There was like a rabbi involved, whatever. All these things are happening. I felt
Yeah.
like it was as if Hashem literally took away my free will temporarily, and was just like put me like on a carpet or a spaceship and just like whisked me back to America. That's literally what I felt like at the time. Like I had almost no choice in the matter, no say in the matter. So I don't know. Maybe it's a combination of both. Maybe I am stupid. Maybe there's mazal. I don't know. I wonder.
I don't know. I don't know either. But it feels like, do you ever feel like like God is wasting you?
That's what I'm
Like
saying. Time is
I know.
going
I'm just
by.
like I know. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Time is going by. And I'm like, it's almost like, I was talking to God the other day. I was like, God, I'm like literally waiting for my life to start. Forget about all the challenges, this, that, I get it. Like, wonderful. But like, my parents are not getting any younger. I'm not getting any younger. What's up?
That's not really what I meant, but I hear what you're
I
saying.
mean, that's what I meant. That's what I'm meaning because it's annoying.
No, it
You
just
know?
feels like, you have what to offer. And
Yeah.
and it's like God is not using you in what you
Yeah.
think the obvious things should be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's sort of like he seems like, if like let's say I'm good at beatboxing,
Yeah.
right? For
Yeah.
some reason he's using me as
Yeah.
a good ditch digger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Dude, I
I'm
have
not a
all
good
these
ditch digger, but you're
dude,
using me as a ditch
I
digger.
have all these social
Meanwhile,
media pages that took,
I'm
yeah.
talented at this other thing, but you're not
Yeah.
using me for the thing that you gave me a talent in.
I
That's the I think that was one of the hardest things
yeah.
about just accepting,
Yeah.
what God does. It's like
Yeah.
it's not about like, having me beaten and having like physical violence occur or getting
No.
really sick.
No.
I mean, that's also like that's horrible. But another thing is having difficulty just understanding like why you gave me talents,
Yeah.
but you never let me anywhere near the ability to actually use them.
Yeah.
What was the point of giving me talents
Yeah.
when you're not gonna, they're not being put to use?
Nothing's being actualized.
Meanwhile, you have me doing this other stuff that I suck at.
Yeah.
Like it's like what it feels like a humiliation kind of like
Humiliation ritual. Yeah. That's what
not
it
a
is.
ritual. I don't want to
Not a ritual,
associate it
but you know
with
what
it, but
yeah. Yeah.
it feels like some kind of punishment,
Yeah.
humiliation. You know what I mean? Like you're having me
Listen, the only rational
constantly
explanation
constantly
is
feel like a fish
Yosef.
out of water.
The only rational explanation is the story of Yosef. But even then, that has
No, Yosef was talented at everything.
no. What I mean is he had to go to jail. He had to experience this.
Yeah, but he
He
was
was
talented
delayed.
at everywhere he went.
I know. I know.
He was the best at
Yeah.
everything everywhere he
Yeah.
went.
Yeah. But
Okay?
he
So
didn't get to actualize it the full extent until after he served whatever he did in prison. He had to serve in prison, then he get be viceroy. What I'm saying is like, dude, like you see
that's
my
not what I'm
soul.
saying.
I get what you're
It's not a
saying.
good thing. Joseph, God just made him talented
Yeah,
at whatever position he was put in.
yeah,
It would be a different story for Joseph. It's like if he was forced to do jobs that he really sucked at,
yeah,
and he had to just stay sucking at it.
yeah, yeah. I get it.
It's a different experience, you know? Anyway, continue, please.
No, I was gonna say like I spent years building up these social media pages, for example. People come to me and ask me, "Tzvi, like, do you make money from this?" I said, "Well, if Iran hadn't hacked my crap or whatever, I don't know. I'm just guessing. I would be making money from it." And again, another thing I file under the category of thanks Hashem. It's like, I don't know. Should I just drop it entirely?
Yeah.
No, really. So I'm seriously asking, should I just drop everything? Because clearly it's not. People are like, oh, start a new page. I'm like, I've started new pages. Nothing happens.
We don't need to get into details.
No, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
people try to help me. They try to, oh, maybe this, do this, do that. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? I have two YouTube channels, 2,000 followers each. Nobody sees anything. I have a Rumble channel, over 2,000. Nobody sees anything. Twitter, 3,300. Nobody sees anything. For sure, nobody sees anything there. 33,000 followers on Facebook. Nobody sees anything. Where else do I have? Yeah, Instagram, 14,000. Nobody sees anything. Instagram, I kind of like once in a while I break through there, but like This is stop doing it, I guess. I don't know. And then people keep telling me, "Oh, Tzvi, no, you should continue. Continue with what? Like, what? It should be
You got to
parnasa.
continue. You got
No,
to
I have to, but
continue.
no, but there should be parnasa. There should be income from this. People are making people with the numbers that I like the followers that I have. People see their content and they're making money
Because they look, I've come to a conclusion on social media, just
because
for
they didn't
instance,
post about COVID. That's why.
you have to post about look, for instance, you got to post about either what Elon Musk likes
That's
or
Twitter.
whoever's
Yeah,
in power. Look, there are major
yeah,
like regimes or entities,
yeah,
right, that
yeah,
spin narratives.
yeah.
The people that make money desperately try to latch on to one of those coordinated,
So what
like,
about it? So on Instagram, there's this whole Israel sphere realm, right? People are posting actually interesting things about
yeah,
history,
no, but
history
you screwed up. You
education.
screwed up because if you're anti the COVID vaccine, then
Yeah,
you're
that's
perceived
it.
you're perceived as anti Netanyahu or something like that. Understand?
Well, I stopped posting about COVID after COVID.
If you notice,
Stop.
they're never critical. They're always kissing
Yeah,
Netanyahu's ass.
I know, I know, I know, I know,
Like
I know.
those are the biggest
Yeah,
accounts.
I know, I know.
Okay.
Everybody thinks that Netanyahu pays them $7,000 per
No, I'm
posting.
just saying
I
that
know, I get
like
it.
that you're. I'm talking about the
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
people who are pro-Israel,
I know, I
right?
know, I know.
The pro-Israel realm, by the
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
gets the least visibility out of anyone
I know.
in general.
Yeah,
And even of that small little portion of visibility,
yeah,
you have accounts who get the majority of it. The
yeah,
majority of
yeah.
the that little tiny shred of visibility
I know.
that you get are people who are pro Netanyahu, which I
But they don't
understand.
post about Netanyahu so much. They post a lot about like one guy posts about Sephardi, people with Sephardi background. One guy
I'm
posts
talking
about
about X, stuff like that.
oh
Yeah.
no, no, the X dude, X is a X is crap. I'm talking about Instagram. Instagram is like really what's at for in Israel like real Israel content. I'm talking about. That's why I keep telling you go to Instagram because you'll see some stuff that's like good. Like really, I'm serious. Like you'll see good stuff. And and the funny part is that the stuff that these people post, I was posting since 2010, and people see them, they don't see me. And this is the most infuriating thing, I think, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever. It is what it is. At least it's getting out there. It's fine. It's not from me, it's from them. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like you have to get some kind of more conventional Parnassa.
No, no, that's fine. I'm okay with that. My point is like, again, when you spend all this time building something, and Hashem is just like block. Like
Yeah.
what okay. That's good. Thank you. Whatever. So
Let's.
no, so to answer your question about tzitzit, I got upset.
I hear you, man.
You know what I mean? I got a little upset. Just a bit.
I know, but you got to put them on.
I know.
When I say I don't, I wouldn't say that to everyone,
Yeah.
but you have to.
Yeah. I know.
That shit has to like right now, like when you go to
Yeah.
like when we get off,
Yeah.
just right now, not even wait till
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like
Listen, I was wearing that stuff
this is what and how
I
you
was
have
wearing that stuff every
feelings.
day for many, many years.
You know how
Yeah.
you have like feelings and premonitions, and you
Yeah.
constantly tell
I
me I
know.
feel like something, this and that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't often have them, but I have one about this.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, I just wanted to say I heard something kind of interesting from Rabbi Manis Friedman recently,
Yeah.
where he was retelling a story, not his story, but story of Hasidim from the previous generation.
Yeah.
Um, and it was something. It was the connected to the concept of being content,
Yeah.
which is kind of profound.
Yeah.
So that in Russia, folks, right, after the revolution, when the communists were already like in charge, and they were cracking down on religious activity, most religious activity, from the masses, and the Jews very strongly as well. They were getting cracked down on by the secular. So religious Jews like Lubavitch Jews, right, Hasidic Jews, were constantly being arrested and accused of all sorts of crimes and persecuted heavily. So one Hasidic guy was jailed, and he heard a crack. He heard a voice coming from downstairs, where it was like an old prison, and there were cracks where the pipe was. And he overheard something conversation. And he knew that it was another Hasidic guy that he knew was in the cell beneath him, on the floor beneath him. And he started talking to his friend beneath him. And these guys were very devout Hasidim, devout religious Jews. And the guy from the top said, Mendel, I don't remember what the guy's name was, but let's just say his name is Mendel. He was calling to his friend Mendel beneath him. He said, Mendel, Mendel. He's like, yeah, yeah. He goes, are you content? Which was
Yeah.
a puzzling question. But years later, when they met up, they both survived that ordeal. Not many people survived that ordeal, but they just had, they somehow got out of it, right? Um, or maybe the Russian authorities felt they weren't important enough, whatever. They let him out. And years later they met. I think they even met like in the 50s in America. And he said, remember that question you asked me? Like, was I content? I realized why. It didn't occur to me immediately why you asked me such a peculiar thing. But many years later, I understood why you said it. Because what does that mean to be content? Obviously, I'm not happy. I don't feel pleasant. But content in Hasidic terms, in religious Jewish Torah terms, means, do you accept that this is where God put you? This is where he wants you to be right now. If you accept that then you're content.
Yeah.
Meaning you're not challenged by the mental stress of, oh, I'm not doing the right thing. I'm not where I should be, and this and that. See, enlightened Hasidic people
Mm.
or enlightened religious Jews, they are not troubled with wondering, am I doing the right thing? Am I, should I be doing something grander? Should I be doing here? They know that wherever they are, that's where God sent them. And so they're happy being there. I dabbled with that a little bit when I was working in construction
Yeah.
because, as Adam Carolla says, I've heard him say something humorous one time. He said, not one time, many times, I'm trying to, but he said something that I thought was very humorous that I could relate to, which was that he was also an apprentice in construction sites when he started out, uh, when he was a kid, and he's like, they had me doing whatever a donkey would do if I wasn't there. So I was digging ditches. I was in my 30s,
Yeah.
in my late 30s, mid to late 30s, digging ditches. Okay. And I was about to have a complete collapse, mentally speaking, because my life was like God didn't, it seemed like he would not let anything happen that I was hoping would happen, anything at all, even with great effort, stuff like that. It's just like the harder I tried, the worse it got.
Yeah.
I ended up digging ditches.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of just completely reshift my focus, or I mean, I probably would have had a complete mental collapse
Yeah.
if I didn't do that,
Yeah.
in hindsight. But I needed to kind of understand, like, I had to be okay with doing what I was doing because this is where God wanted me to be. And I think God was like forcing me to try to understand that what my what I thought my plan or my role should be is not going to be that role at
Yeah.
all. And
Yeah.
I just have to like completely accept
Yeah.
where he sends me and what he wants me to do from moment to moment,
Yeah.
right? So if like I somehow was able to get there in my mind,
Yeah.
in my consciousness,
Yeah.
and it made it bearable. I got through it only only like that.
I think I did something similar over the years. I did do that. But again, like as far as I just wish it didn't involve, public shame and embarrassment from like in front of family and all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? If one thing if you like tested me and I'm like somewhere, I don't know, sitting in a.
Hey, try going to dig a ditch
Oh, yeah,
in front of people who you told you were going to become a biomedical engineer and do
yeah.
this and do
I
that and
know,
all
I
these
get
big
it.
stuff.
Oh, I get it, I get it. Yeah,
So what I'm trying to say is I'm not demeaning ditch diggers or anything like that.
yeah, yeah,
I'm just saying, as who was it that said Judge Smales from Caddyshack? He
yeah,
goes, the world needs ditch diggers too.
yeah,
Remember?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
so okay. So but my point is that actually technically the world does not need ditch diggers. That's a humiliation ritual
yeah,
because they had excavators there. They had like, backhoes and stuff like that. They had
yeah,
machinery that could have used whatever. That's not
yeah,
the point.
yeah,
Getting sidetracked. The point is that that the only time I was ever like kind of mentally, I think like the healthiest I've been mentally in in the past, I guess 10 years was when I kind of had those moments where I just kind of accepted my fate and kind of just accepted that this is where God wants me to be. I'm gonna
mm,
vomit out the my own thoughts of where I think I should be and what I think I should be doing and just kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
accept, where he sends me moment to moment.
yeah,
Like I'm Kwai Ching Kang,
yeah,
the traveling kung fu guy. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's
all
funny.
right, well, it's just like this must be, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm saying like
Hmm.
I don't know if I completely like I think I still kind of like that. Like I still kind of like I still have some remnant of that.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could offer you
No, no, I pretty
because
much did something similar, but
because at this point it's either insanity or just accept fate
yeah, yeah,
because he won't let
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
I remember it was a great relief to a certain extent when I took that impossible pressure off of myself
yeah,
to do something that was obviously against his will, right? Like that's not in the plan.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Even if it
I
made
guess.
sense on paper and even if it seemed sensible to other people and to myself, if it wasn't in his script, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah,
So, it's those kind of moments where you have to make a decision.
yeah, I guess. Mm,
I don't know how to I still don't know how to pair that or make that blend with other types of advice you hear from, you know, from the Torah world, which is like, oh, you have to seize opportunities when you see them and this and that. Like, there is it's not so simple the way that
yeah,
I just,
yeah. You know how many times I tried to seize opportunities and
yeah,
then
there's more complexity.
yeah, the opportunities seized me. Okay, okay. Dude, like
But at the same,
again, I'll go back to a perfect example. Perfect example. Maybe I shouldn't even mention it. Whatever. I
I
won't say
guess
it.
like,
Shouldn't mention
just
it.
in the spirit, since we're kind of like, at
Yeah.
this point in the
Yeah.
conversation,
Yeah.
I'm going to say that seizing an opportunity that God supposedly presents you with, not supposedly, that he puts in front of you, right?
Yeah.
But that's doomed to failure is the same thing as digging ditches.
I know
It's like,
because it's false hope.
no, it's not false hope, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
You were supposed to go through that.
Oh no, that's fine.
Meaning you got to accept that God sent you into a situation that wasn't going to succeed.
Yeah. No, but the my problem is for the purpose of blank.
Well, look,
You know what I'm saying?
no, but that you see, look, that should be. I know. Let me try to.
Like the explanation has to be readily available. It can't always be NA, like you always say. Like it can't always be
No, it really can always be not
like
available.
always.
Yeah, always. You know why?
What's the
Because
point?
your existence is not available.
So okay,
Meaning,
so
like the reason
okay.
for your existence is actually not
No,
available.
I get it, but what I'm saying
Like
is like
the fact that
okay.
you are rather than are not,
Yeah,
that already
I
is
get
like
it. I get it.
that's the default.
I get it.
What no, what I'm saying is if you actually accept that,
Yeah.
then all the
Everything else is just like the
all the
journey.
other not
Yeah.
available stuff
Yeah.
is sort of like, yeah, I guess that's par
What do you
for the
do?
course.
Yeah, I guess. It's just that here's the problem is that we live in what's called Olam Asiya, the world of action. So now here we are doing all these actions, and in reality, based on what you and I just kind of gleaned, is we're just like it's like the game Sims. We're just kind of like walking around and like whatever. Like in our case, just trying stuff and it's not working out. Trying stuff, it's not working out. It's just like banging your head against the wall.
No, it is working out for God.
I know that's what I'm saying. Not,
No, no, that's no, you don't
but if
understand.
we're in the world of
You're
action, the action
what
what we're doing has to work out at some point.
what I'm saying is that obvious successes,
Yeah,
what we view as successes,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
The guy tries a business
I
venture
know. God
and he
blessed
gets
it.
rich.
Yeah, of course.
That's not that's not the reality of working out.
I get it.
What working out means that you do what God what his goal
I
was
understand.
accomplished.
No, I get it. Like, for example, his goal with this whole thing of me doing the wine business, despite the fact that literally I publicly massively failed, publicly, which is fine. A lot of these guys, business advisors, they're like, if you're gonna fail, fail publicly, all this stuff, right? Apparently, I can kind of see what the purpose was.
No.
No, no, I'm saying like I literally can see it. Like there's like Torah, there's all this stuff that I learned, there's all this experience. Like on a practical level, I could see it. Like I literally, sometimes you don't see it. You don't see
What I'm
anything.
saying is whatever you think you
You see
glean
it as
from
not the thing. Yeah.
is not the thing.
Okay.
It's a total mystery.
I get it. I get it. Yeah.
Like you're
I
doing
understand. I understand
you're
what you're
doing
saying.
stuff for God.
Yeah.
So look, here's the rough part. We're here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We mentioned this before. Like, our souls, exist like eternally in a world that's not from here,
Yeah.
where God takes care of us entirely. Where, whatever, I don't even know I don't know what a soul does all day when it's
Yeah.
not in the body,
Yeah.
but apparently it's very pleasant and
Yeah.
God takes care of, and the soul doesn't really do anything for God.
Yeah.
God does for the soul, for us.
Yeah.
God sends us here for a very short period of time to do some stuff for him. Our soul was really gung ho about it because it loves God for whatever its reasons are.
Yeah.
Okay, which we can, I can't, which we don't necessarily comprehend here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and it's an opportunity for the soul to truly do something for God, and the soul couldn't care less if it understands what it's doing for God. It just does. It just wants to do whatever God says, Okay, so the soul was willingly sent here. I think I'm not sure willingly or unwillingly. There's some discrepancy there. I've heard unwillingly to a certain extent, but also excited to serve God in another. I don't know. That's a separate conversation. The soul was sent here and is happy to do whatever for God, whatever it can, whether it understands it or not.
Yeah.
So the only way to get through this experience, right, without being constantly miserable, is to connect to your soul somehow, which will maybe lend some of its attitude, okay, to you about what we're supposed to be doing here and how to feel about it.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I just said?
Yes. I've had those moments. Yeah. I've had that. Yeah.
That's the only thing that there's to do is to
Yeah.
increase in those moments by connecting to your
Yeah.
soul, which is a fan of God
So now
and is happy.
explain. So now explain to me this. Unfair. I'm posing before you a very unfair scenario, but it's more for the folks at home to think about, not just. I don't think you'll have an answer for this. A friend of whatever. I met a guy on Shabbat. Friend of a friend. Seemingly a very good guy. He became religious when he was 13 years old, like through some like family stuff. His mom put him in school, whatever it was, like religious school. Russian speaking guy. He's 40 now, I think, 40, 41. He's a dentist. Thank God, he has income, thank God. No issue with that. The guy, so he was religious since he was 13. I think at age 22, he got married. When I asked him, I actually asked him, he's divorced now. I asked him, like, when you got married, your wife, were you like, kind of like into her, like even a minimal way? He's like, no, I wasn't really, I didn't, whatever. He didn't know his father. He lost his father when he was young. So I guess he told me kind of half jokingly, he's like, I didn't really know about this whole thing called feelings. Everything to him was like very, like, he went everything kind of logical. So he married this girl. They had 7 kids, and then they have like, I think after that, they got divorced. They were co-parenting like 7 plus another 3 that she had. It was kind of, I don't really know the whole story, but the kids are, he told me they have like 10 kids. 7 of them are his kids. And then I don't really know all the details, but in short, uh essentially he lost the ability to see his kids at all. So here he is on Shabbat, upstate, and he cannot get out of his room in the morning to pray. He sleeps the entire Shabbat. Listen, I know people that do that, just who are just whatever. But he does it because he's in a freaking depression. Because this woman created trumped up charges in family court against him that caused the family court to literally, it's not like, I mean, I don't know what your brother says. Your brother was allowed to see his kids, right? This guy cannot see his kids. He's not a bad father. He never hit this woman. He never hit the kids. He never withheld money. He was co-parenting. He has a job. He's a dentist. He cannot see his kids. And as a result of that, he cannot daven. He cannot pray. He can't barely do mitzvahs. Hashem wants it. Dude, if I didn't know any better, I'm
I don't
sorry.
know that
If I didn't know any better, I'd turn into a gnostic fruitcake. Do you know what I'm saying?
I
You
think
understand what I'm saying to you,
I
right?
would too, but the thing is, I'm smarter than the Gnostic fruitcakes
I
because
understand. I understand.
I know they're going to lose.
No, that's fine, but you understand my point.
Yeah, I understand. Of course I understand.
That's it. Obviously, I won't turn the gospel for a fruitcake, but it's
Like I get
I guess
I
God
get
doesn't need his prayers for the time being. I don't know. Doesn't need his mitzvahs. Doesn't need it. Doesn't even need his existence on earth for the time being to come out of his room. He can't come out of his room. Yeah, he jokes when he does come out of his room. He's a happy-go-lucky guy. He jokes about South Park. He just jokes about Borat. He jokes about this. He's a funny guy. This and that. We have fun. Whatever. But other than that, when he's not doing that, he can't come out of his room. Thank you very
look,
much.
there's conventional answers.
Yeah.
There's I don't need you snapping at me as if I'm the one that's giving these
No, no, I'm
answers.
not snapping at you.
I'm just telling
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
that there's the whole the
yeah.
Yarita for the purpose of an Aliyah,
Well, it's okay.
right?
That could be it. Yeah,
I don't
possible.
know. I can't. You're asking me to get
Into the
into the
wiring, yeah.
wires.
Yeah. I'm not asking you to do that at all.
No, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying by asking that
yeah,
question, right?
yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
why. I don't know
yeah.
why. I don't know why.
I'm asking God, I'm not asking you. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the point is that
Maybe there's
what
something I'm not seeing. Maybe, obviously it takes two to tango. Maybe
I
he did
heard
do something.
I heard something amazing
Yeah. Yeah.
from Rabbi Aaron Raskin.
Hmm.
You heard of this guy?
Yeah, Amar Stoudemire's rabbi. That's all I know of him.
The
Happen happens to be a
Chabad of
prospect.
Brooklyn Heights?
Yeah, that's the
That's
rabbi.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you ever watch his lectures, he's a very simple man.
Yes.
Or he presents himself as a very simple man.
Yeah, but he's not.
He doesn't get he's very Hamish.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
He
He's
presents as Hamish. Yeah.
he's one of the most Jewish looking guys you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
Like there's no chance he can be anything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
he can't pass for Hawaiian.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a Jackie Mason thing, folks. That's
Yeah.
a
Do I look Hawaiian? I look
you know
Hawaiian.
the Haken and
Yeah, the
oh,
yenta
do I look
chopping
Hawaiian?
the
No,
chopping the noses
Rabbi
and
Raskin can't pass for Hawaiian.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
he can't even pass for whatever. So my point is that he said he he said like this. You have to whenever you see an opportunity to do a mitzvah, you do it. You know what that means? I know it sounds like a simple thing, right? Sounds like, oh, seize every opportunity to mitzvah, passionately do mitzvahs and all this kind of stuff and be a big tzaddik. No, it's when you're in a constricted state of mind, even when you are prone to not wanting to do mitzvahs because you have an issue with God or
Yeah.
whatever, you have some kind of animosity, you have some kind of um, animosity, you have some kind of whatever.
Yeah.
In that state of mind, sometimes you see an opportunity to do a mitzvah
Mhm.
when it's, let's say, seemingly easy. Just do it.
Yeah, of course.
Just do it anyway. Give tzedakah.
Hmm.
Right? You see a mitzvah become available to you, right?
Yeah, of
Give tzedakah, you put on tefillin.
course.
You could be sitting there kind of just like, in wallowing in self-pity or
Yeah,
whatever. And then you
yeah,
open, you see to the left, oh yeah, there's your tefillin. You didn't intend on putting on tefillin, but there it is.
yeah,
So you put it on or that's what he means.
yeah. I get it.
So that applies to you, me, and your friend that you were describing.
Yeah.
Okay. It's hard for him to daven. I can relate to that. It's hard for him to like get out
It's
of
not,
his room.
it's actually
I
not hard for him to daven. It's hard for him to when he gets out of his room, he's davening, but when he just can't get out of his room because he's depressed. He's depressed because of the situation.
I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah,
I understand. Whatever the constriction is,
yeah,
people have various constrictions. People have
yeah,
their own
yeah,
set of circumstances. Whatever's pressing on your mind, everybody has something that's pressing down on them,
yeah,
that's keeping them, to use a metaphor, at the gate. I
yeah,
heard that recently.
yeah.
What's keeping you at the gate? What's keeping you from passing through the gate. There's
Yeah.
something, there's a blockage.
Yeah.
To use this new age horseshit,
Yeah.
this stuff from therapy and crap, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, everybody has that, by the way, on various levels. Like even people who are we look at as super high functioning and super successful,
Yeah.
they feel constricted that they're
Yeah.
being blocked from moving to the next level and all this
Yeah. Yeah.
crap that you see on social
Hmm.
media and all these
Yeah.
gurus and all this,
Yeah.
you know,
I'm making 100,000 a month. I can't make a million.
what's stopping
Ugh.
you from,
Yeah. 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 What's stopping you from making a million? You're only making 100,000. Yeah.
yeah,
I keep seeing these ads. Yeah. I'm like, okay.
why haven't you gotten that six pack?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So everybody is born with their stoppages,
Yeah.
with their blockages.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I feel like that comes built in to our
Yeah.
programming. And some people have, you know, whatever your blockages are, like little tiny movements through them are what matters to God, right? Like that guy that I
Mm.
talked to, just
Mm.
having a curiosity a little bit about King Shlomo,
Yeah.
Solomon,
Yeah.
and having a Torah discussion about it and being open to that
Mm.
for the first time in his life when he tends to be more kind of confrontational in general, but some little something opened up in his mind, he's a little bit open to it. That means more to, to that might mean more to God than a guy who never misses minyan for 4 years in a row,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because so that's apparently that's what God's looking for. It's like that little tiny, whoever you are, whatever level you're on, the slightest step
Mhm.
forward in the stuff that's really hard
Yeah.
is what he's looking for.
Yeah. I know.
I know I sound like I sound like I'm advocating for God right
No.
now, right?
No. No. It's not. I mean, it's
This is what this is. I'm just telling you what is
yeah.
the
Mm.
reality
Yeah.
that we're all that we're all forced to deal with. There's no option. There's no way out. You
Yeah.
can't become a nonstick fruitcake. Those guys are idiots. They're
No. No. I didn't
delusional
say
and they're
I'm.
going to
No.
lose.
I don't say I would. I'm just saying. But yeah.
No, no, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
to our vast audience.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't join the Gnostic fruitcakes because these people are just they don't have a future.
Yeah. You know. Yeah. It's true.
It's it's better regardless of how you feel, right? It's better to just acknowledge reality. There is a creator who created you with a purpose already in mind.
Yeah.
You're going to fulfill it one way or another eventually. It's easier and it's just better to cooperate rather than not cooperate.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
That's it.
Well, with that said, folks, I have to go to sleep. So do you. My cat finally did after
Squeaky's been on my lap.
after a standoff. Yeah, I had a standoff with my cat. Standoff as in he emails, and I ignore him.
So how are you easily going to find the timestamps for the reading of this book?
Now you just you plug in the link and you ask it, give me the timestamps. Gemini, ChatGPT, whatever. Or I could just go through.
Can you do that for the protocols and for
Yes, I just have to find the episode. Well, you gave me the episode, so I have to go sit down and do that. Yeah.
you're going to make me send you the
No, no, no,
time
no, no,
again,
no.
right?
I have the time. I have them. I have them. I could look. I could find it somewhere.
Yeah, I never sent you that many emails.
Yeah.
Probably like six of the emails out
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
9 that I ever sent you
We all
are,
know who sends us all those emails. It's not you. I won't say who.
oh no,
But
no, yeah, you're right.
dude, I literally, I'm telling you, if there was like a would have been like some kind of like important event, if like Netanyahu came on the show, I wouldn't know about it because I can't sift through all that stuff.
I hope he's
It's not possible. I hope it's
is,
okay.
is fully recovered yet?
Yeah, I think
We're talking about a friend of ours, folks.
yeah, yeah,
Talk about Lowell.
yeah.
Lowell Joseph Gallen of the Root and Branch
Association.
Association Limited,
Yeah.
broadcasting out of Jerusalem
Yes.
since 1981, right?
Yeah, something like that.
That's
Yeah.
when we were born. Yeah.
You know what's crazy? Like, see, this is one of these things that it's not pisses me off, but it's one of those things where it's like my most recent apartment during COVID was around the corner from Lowell. That's where Hashem put me. I didn't know that's where Lowell lived. It was around the corner from Lowell. Lowell would invite me every other Shabbat to his house for lunch and or dinner. Hashem put me next to Lowell. Hashem made me into a COVID activist, anti whatever, and I lived a block away from Lowell with a view. We both had a view of Harabayas, of a Temple Mount. What that gave me in life, I don't know. It's called, a friend of mine calls it a smile from Hashem, a wink. What do winks get you? A whole lot of nothing. They're just
Yeah.
winks. Hi, hi, I'm here. Winky, wink, wink, blinky,
That's
blinky.
listen, that's because look, all the problems that you have,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say the problems.
Everybody has them. I get it. Yeah, I know.
No, no. All the I'm struggling to find words like resentments that you have, right?
Yeah.
About
All the complaints.
like
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
right? Are basically come from wrong ideas that we absorbed from well-meaning people.
I get it. I get it.
Bad advice, we absorbed a lot of Bubba Misons.
I know. I know. I know.
When a person kind of like starts becoming observant or hanging out with, Orthodox people,
Yeah.
you get a lot of bad,
If
well-intentioned
you
bad
do
advice.
this, you'll get this. If you did punch in this in the
Yes,
gumball
we see,
machine,
right.
you get this result.
You hear stuff that kind of like, travels around, but it's
Yeah.
inaccurate information.
Yeah.
And then
So,
but you can't tell that when you're just kind of like getting to know the community, you can't tell
yeah.
who's actually knowledgeable
Yeah.
and who's
Who's a
not
complete
full of
doofus?
crap, but who's
Yeah.
not knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Okay? So
Yeah.
we absorb a lot of stuff, things that the
Yeah.
Torah never said,
Yeah.
and there's it's an epidemic
Yeah.
actually.
Well, for me, in my case, I don't absorb. It's not that even that I absorb stuff. I'm a pattern seeking person. And for me, I always say, and again, this is something I say to God when I talk to him. I tell him, again, you show me it's like you play peekaboo with me. You show me this stuff. Actually, in Israel, he shows me outright stuff. Uh, but then like I don't know, I'll go to like some singles meal and everyone's insane. I can't meet a
I
woman because they're all every like not just women, everyone there is like mixed nuts from the
dude,
movie Mixed Nuts.
dude, I think the
You know what I'm saying?
I think there's a problem. The problem is that anybody who thinks that they can read God's tea leaves,
Yeah, they can't.
right,
Yeah,
are they what I mean is like this. Just let me see if I can
yeah,
express this idea. I know, right, that if you send a request to God
yeah,
for specific information
yeah,
and you do it right through prayer, through kavanot,
yeah.
and then you are familiarized with the type of response that you can possibly get, meaning the means at which it can come to you,
Sure. Yeah.
perhaps then you can say, okay, this I think I can
Harness something.
semi-confidently say that God sent me the answer that I
Yeah,
specifically asked in the
yeah,
most specific possible way,
yeah,
right? But thinking that you can understand what God is saying without that, like you just God, let's say, presents you with something in front of you
Yeah.
that you didn't necessarily ask for, it just kind of
Yeah.
appeared, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then thinking that you understand what it could possibly mean is a huge mistake.
I agree. That's the thing. I never even presume, meaning like this whole thing with like what I just mentioned to you, like Lowell being next to me. I never even presume that it necessarily that I know what it means or that it means anything. The only thing I presume is that I know God orchestrated it, which means that God is real. That's all I know. That's all it tells me, right? It doesn't tell me anything else. Oh, it's cute, whatever. It's called Hashgacha Pratis. Cute,
It's not
cute
cute.
thing. No, not you know what I mean by
Yeah.
cute. It's not cute. It isn't cute. What I mean is that's nice, whatever, It's not whatever, but
There's no way that it could be anything like that.
I agree. What I'm saying is I wish, listen, that happened to me, that kind of stuff happened to me once in an area of my life which was useful, right? And there was like a window, like again, like I was engaged. There was like this window of opportunity, and whatever happened, and it never happened again. It's like you get that one window.
But that's how
It's
you're
a,
interpreting it. But
no,
that's not
no, but
that's not the reality.
no, meaning that's what's been. It's like Kiryas Yamsuf. It happened. Kiryas Yamsuf happened once. It didn't happen again. The splitting of the sea happened only once, as far as we know from
I don't
Torah.
think I don't think that's a correct
It's
comparison. I don't think you're looking at it right.
not comparison. It's just never happened again after that.
You're
It's,
talking
it,
about Kriyas Yamsuf, but that
no, I'm saying what I'm saying is
you're comparing apples to
what
oranges.
I'm saying is I never had my zivuk
But
fall on my head
you're not
again.
100 years old. You're still in the middle of your
Oh,
life.
okay. So hopefully it'll happen
No, no.
soon.
You see when you're
No,
saying,
I'm
"Oh,
saying like
it never happened again," you're look. I believe you fully resigned to the belief that it's not going to happen for you.
I don't think it's
That's what
not gonna
that's
happen.
what I feel like you're saying to me.
No, I'm not saying that.
Because you said stuff like that to me before. It's never going to happen again.
I'm
It's
not
never
saying it.
happened
No,
again.
I'm not saying it's never gonna happen. I'm just saying that
It feels like it's never going to happen.
I don't think it's never gonna happen. I think that there's this weird, I mean, this is just my opinion from what I'm seeing. I think there's something going on for a lot of people, including myself, where we are very subject to more so to uh the machinery, the very kind of cold machinery of natural law more so than not. I didn't used to feel this way before for a long time. I don't know what happened. I don't know what the reason is. My friend, I think I told you this. A friend of mine theorizes about the something happened with this collider thing, and it threw off all the timelines, and it threw off all the stuff, and it screwed everything up. And people who, you know, lived or had Hashgacha Pratis in their life, I don't say it's over. It's not over. It's never over. But it's like certain areas of their lives, it's like, listen, I think it was the Ramchal himself. I mentioned Rabbi Moshe Chaim Zato in one of his books. He wrote about, and I think Bart Sadok has a whole, if I could pull it up, if you want, I could read it. It's short
Okay.
about zivugim, about soulmates, and it's classical, what's called classical. Oh, here you go. I found it. It's the first thing. It talks about, like you have your first soulmate that you meet, that the one that's designated for you, right? And then if you like quote unquote, for whatever reason you screw that up or it doesn't work out, everyone after that is based on your merits, on your deeds. Deeds meaning your mitzvot, right? So Ramchal wrote about this. See, he says, I want to get to the part where he specifically talks about, there's a few pages here, 6 pages. I can read the whole thing if you want. It's not that long.
Maybe we'll save it for next time.
I'm saying like since we're on the topic already.
Okay. The thing is,
Basically, yeah,
I've also I've learned
yeah,
in many other places
yeah.
that we don't just have one zivug.
I know we have
We
multiple,
have
but
we have a
yeah,
lot of zivugim,
yeah, I know, yeah,
and also zivug doesn't necessarily people assume
I know.
zivug
It's all
means
cute, yeah.
true romantic love.
No, it's not. It doesn't mean
Not at
that.
all.
It doesn't mean that.
Sometimes zivug can
Yeah,
be your enemy,
correct,
which is,
correct.
you know,
Yeah,
uh, you know,
yeah. See, it
somebody
says,
who's very contentious with you,
yeah,
like
yeah. No, no, I know. See, it says he's talking about the the Ben Ish Chai. Uh, it says so he's talking about in the Talmud. There's like a passage, right, with regards to matches, right, like people who are matched. The Talmud in Sota says, Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yitzchak said that when Reish Lakish would lecture, he would say, a wife is selected for a man according to his actions. Rabbi Bar Chana said, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, joining together couples is as difficult as parting of the Red Sea. Truly did not Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Rav, 40 days before the formation of a child, a heavenly voice proclaims, the daughter of so and so will marry so and so, the house of so and so will go to so and the field of so and so will go to so and so. Thus, all is prearranged. This is not difficult to explain. The latter deals with the first marriage, while the former deals with the second. Rabbi Yosef Chaim, this is the what's his name? No, Ben Ish Chai, learns from this that when a soul is new to the world, it is said to be enjoying its first marriage, and thus all things are prepared for him. Yet, when due to sin, such a soul must return. This is called one's second marriage. At this time, one's portion is dependent upon one's merits. If one is deserving, then one receives one's full portion. If not, then one's full portion is given to another. This is true with one's finances, and it is true with one's soulmate. More than this, Rabbi Haim reveals something most profound. Being that a woman's soul does not need to reincarnate other than for the sake of her husband, this therefore means that her soul is on a higher spiritual level than that of her husband. Therefore, from the physical side, a wife is dependent upon her husband for financial support. Yet, from the spiritual side, a husband is dependent upon his wife for spiritual support. It is this state of conflicting dominance that causes the strife in most marriages today. This is Bartzadok writing this. When a man, uh, when is what then is a man or a couple supposed to do? The answer to this is also given in the Talmud. A wife is selected for a man according to his actions. If a couple wants for there to be a peace in the home, at the spiritual level, which then gives rise to peace everywhere else, then a man must rectify his actions and properly make himself to be worthy of a good marriage. Notice that, yeah, so he goes on, talk
you see,
about like,
this is very general and kind of vague.
yeah, yeah,
There's another problem too, by the way,
yeah,
if you want to get into it,
yeah.
which is that we didn't hear any actual specific advice. And even if it sounds like we did.
No, he goes
Because,
to
no,
thing.
because I'll give you an example. In the days of when the Jews were living in the early days of Israel, right? Even before the kings or slightly after the kings of Israel, right? We had this disease called Tsaras, right?
Yeah,
And it's incorrectly translated as uh, leprosy, but it was a spiritual disease.
yeah,
Torah that the verses in the Hebrew scriptures talk about, saying it's like these white spots that people would get. And they would get that as a result of speaking lashon hara, of
yeah,
slander, right? So first they would attack your clothes. No, first they would attack your house. Like you get these weird kind of like mold-like spots in your house, and then the priest would have to come and do something, right? And if you didn't rectify your ways, it'd end up on your clothing.
yeah,
And if you still didn't rectify your ways, it would end up on your skin. So it was like you got multiple warnings and chances, and it was a direct spiritual result of something that you did. That We don't even merit to have that anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, that was like a certain merit where it
Yeah, of
was like that was
course.
like a certain revelation of God. It was one of the miraculous things that
Yeah.
people experienced in everyday life that was available in ancient times in Israel,
Yeah.
right? As we got further away from that time, people began getting spiritually on a lower level, whatever, and they didn't even get such a direct response from heaven because like getting getting direct messages from heaven for results like almost for stuff that you do almost instantaneously is a
Yeah.
privilege,
Yeah.
right? As the years got on and as generations moved forward towards our time, the messages began more and more muffled and more they didn't come immediately,
Yeah.
right? It just it became darker and darker and darker and more chaotic. Okay. So the stuff that we're reading about in the Gemara just now, right, that you read,
Yeah.
there are stories, and this is going back only 2,000 years, right? So you had stories like there's one that I remember, like Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa,
Yeah.
right? Who's like the most miraculous stories are associated with him. And he, there was some kind of story, I'm not going to recount it entirely, but basically there was something about he got word of a kid who fell out of a tree and was like killed. And he's like, wait a minute, that's impossible because stuff like that doesn't happen in the land of Israel
Yeah.
because, you know, because his father was of a certain merit, so that couldn't have happened,
Yeah.
right? But he was saying that the people of that time, like he didn't believe the story basically, and it turned out that he was right. But even at a later date, where Rabbi 2000, 2000 years ago was a later time. It was a more spiritually dark time than the time when the Jews were living in Israel, during the time of Joshua and so forth and the judges, right? But even 2000 years ago in Israel, there were still things that you can reliably count on that just didn't happen because of like you can rely that this wouldn't happen to you if you did this activity, or if your parents had this merit, or if you never transgressed this thing was definitely not going to happen to you. Like all those segulot that we learn about,
Yeah.
it comes from that time when
Yeah.
those things were in effect,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they're not in effect in every generation.
I know. Yeah. No.
You get what I'm
I
saying, but I
no, no,
worried that I didn't explain that well enough for the
no,
folks.
you no, it's true. I'm saying like at this point I don't know what's in effect.
Yeah, I don't know that's what I'm saying. Like
There's nothing in the,
I
I
don't
don't know.
I don't think like basically I think that here's what we still have available to us, I think. We can make a request from God for an answer for a very, very, very specific question.
Yeah.
And you got to
Mhm.
keep an eye out for the answer.
Yeah.
I'm only saying this because this is what I've personally experienced regularly.
Yeah.
I bought it. First of all, it's actually very hard to ask for something very, very specific. I don't know how to
I know.
explain that, but for
No, I
me,
get it. Yeah.
for
Same,
me,
same.
it's difficult,
Same.
and it's difficult to accomplish.
And it's not that it's hard. It's one of those
Even the
things where
request.
it goes back to the whole thing of false hope, meaning like if I ask for something specific and I'm really, like married to that, the result of it happening or not, you know what I mean? And it doesn't happen, meaning like I really want it to happen. I'm asking Hashem, can you make this happen? No, 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 no. or at least tell, guide me in the right direction of should I go here, should I go there, should it happen, should it not happen? And then it's like it just the whole thing is like it turns out I didn't I it turns out what I wanted I shouldn't have even wanted. I shouldn't have even asked for. I shouldn't have even talked about it or like talked to Hashem about it. And I'm like going completely in the wrong direction. I don't even know where the hell I'm going. And it turns out that Hashem's gonna lead me where he wants me to go. I mean, like where he wants to drag me like a rag doll. Like
I should
literally.
have given an example of what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Here's an example of something that I think is specific.
Mhm.
Because I don't even dare like ask God for like I don't even remember liking stuff or wanting stuff.
Mhm.
My question nowadays would be something like, can you show me, well, first of all, am I going to have a parnassa?
Yeah.
Am I ever going to have a regular adult parnassa,
Yeah. Mm.
meaning a livelihood?
Yeah.
Second of all, can you please, if so, can you please send me where I'm supposed to,
Get that.
show me what that thing is
Yeah.
that you need, that you want me to be involved in,
Yeah.
that that will lead to a parnassa. What field, what job, just that kind of thing specifically.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna request things that I want.
Yeah. Have you
I'm
requested
gonna
that? What you just described?
I I I'm I guess like I was planning on it. Like I've been still kind of like that was a very vague description
Yeah.
of something that needs to be way more specific.
Okay.
I learned about the specificity of a request from multiple sources, from Rabbi Dov Pinson, for
Yeah.
instance,
Yeah.
and also from Rabbi Bart Sadok.
Yeah.
Okay, and many other people too, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Those are just two that pops into my head.
Yeah.
It has to be super, super specific, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you gotta wait for the response, and somehow you know what that response is, and the response will very rarely be immediately,
I know.
but it might even be as fast as the next day or within like a few days.
Yeah.
But you got to be like looking for like waiting
Yeah.
patiently for the answer.
Yeah. And you have to identify when the answer is coming, when
And
the
then
answer comes.
and then accept it.
Yeah.
'Cause that's the hard part
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah.
probably.
Yep. Well,
You know,
speaking of hard
like if
parts.
the answer might come back, oh, you have to open a car
Yeah.
service.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tel Aviv car service. Carmel car service. 666.
444
Yeah,
right?
677777777.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. Anyway, well, sir, we've been at this almost for 4 hours.
I know, right? Isn't that weird? Like
Yeah,
we're supposed to
fascinating.
be only for 2 hours.
Yeah. Then we got into Book of Job, and that's what we call the episode.
No, don't do that because forget it. Like
Actually, no. Then all the God people will come and watch the video.
I don't think so. I don't think it matters because Peter Thiel doesn't like us.
Oh,
He's not going to let
no,
our
I'm not
stuff
talking about
be
Rumble.
anyway.
I'm not talking about Rumble. I'm talking about YouTube.
Oh,
By the
YouTube. I
way,
mean,
by the way,
we
Gemini
get
gave
less
me.
views on YouTube than on
By the way,
Rumble.
Gemini gave me this whole thing how I can at least attempt to fix my Facebook page. There's apparently things I can do. Very specific things.
Can you ask Gemini how to get us more visibility on our podcast?
I will. I will do that. It's the minute I at least attempt to fix my Facebook. But yeah, for
Sorry,
sure.
Squeaky. All right, folks.
Yes.
Play us off, Maestro. Nah,
Uh,
just kidding. We'll just end it.
yes. All right, folks. For those of you fasting, have an easy fast on Tisha B'Av.
Remember,
Uh,
folks, if you want to know something from God, really, 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 really specific questions.
yeah. Yeah, he's autistic like that. I'm kidding. But no, I'm not.
All right.
All right. Laila tov. Peace.